Gulfstream and Santa Anita, 43,878. So another coast-to-coast Pick 5 carryover today. And then as Santa Anita rolls into action, there's a healthy $52,000 Pick 6 carryover. All right, so keep those in mind, and we'll see if Brad's got any help for you. But principally, we'll talk about the Lewis and everything else. The Lucas, the Thunder Road, the stakes action tomorrow at Santa Anita when Brad Free joins us first. Let me give you the rundown. Jeff Taylor to follow. We'll hit the Oaklawn card today, get his opinions. Tomorrow, what is there to say? The Bayakoa goes through nitrogen, no surprise. There's a couple of nice enough races, but again, Friday is the meet. The Super Bowl coverage today. I was trying to get all three Pigskin Pros. I was trying to get all three of them stacked up in the last 45 minutes, but Dave Hill, who is in, I think, Costa Rica, Dave is going to join us after Dave Grenning. So maybe about 10:10, and we'll get Dave Hill's final thoughts on the last game of the National Football League season. Scully, after the break, 10:30, we'll check in with Hammer. We'll do the Tampa card, the Sam Davis and more with Barry Spears. Nick Tamero will be back. Figure about 11:15. Then we will go to San Francisco, and we will go to Radio Row at the Super Bowl. Craig Dato and Dr. Chow, they are on Radio Row this morning, and we will get direct Super Bowl coverage from Sports Injury Central. And there's legit concern about how sound, let's use veterinary term. We'll see if Derek May is able to survive the pre-vet exam of Dr. Chow anyway. And then Rich Eng. We'll get Rich's final thoughts. A lot of player prop conversation. And Johnny D, I reached out to Johnny. I wanted to see if he wanted to, and Johnny actually said something that kind of echoes my, and it's not because the Eagles aren't involved. I'm very happy to get excited about a Super Bowl and be, interested. I got nothing for this. To me, for whatever reason, it's kind of a juiceless Super Bowl. I don't know. I'll root for Seattle. But other than that, I don't know. I just and I'll come up with some props. I actually hit something last weekend for a couple hundred. I don't even know why. I put in a bunch of stupid props and I hit something. So I've got like $300 that's sitting there in my app. In my I use Caesars and for the sports betting. And there's a very interesting conversation to be had. I don't know if we'll do it today, certainly, but this prediction market situation. There's a terrific piece in the Atlantic. I'll put that out as a gift article that talks about how this is a Super Bowl like none, from a betting standpoint, like none that has come before. So Dave Hill, Craig Dato, Rich Eng on the professional side, and then we'll also survey all the equine opinion makers as well. See who they're rooting for. A few notes from yesterday. We've got about 7 minutes before Brad joins us. Let me get a little bit of recapping in, and there's actually a couple of things to do, even going back to Wednesday. Speaking of rescheduled, and I did not get you the Laurel Stake results if you didn't notice. But in the extra heat, that victory music for the Wyckoffs. And this is a homebred of theirs, a McLean's Music filly, Victory Music, 5-2, square price actually. And interesting, 7-horse field. There was not a horse in double digits. How often you'll see that? Really kind of cool, actually. 5-2, 11-2, 7-2, 5-1, 6-1, 8-1, 6-1. Kind of interesting. Angel Cruz aboard for Mike Maker. Actually, I haven't checked the figure. And then Hollywood Import, who both Callie and I liked, actually went off as second choice. Trendsetter from Ben Colebrook went off the favorite exactly at 5-2, and Hollywood Import paid $720 with Tori Alba. And this is Gary Capuano for Pocket Threes Racing. George Krikorian bred this Honor AP, his stallion, sort of, right? This horse might be nice, this Hollywood Import. This horse is going to keep getting better. Out of a Curlin mare, Baby Zito. So I wanted to slip that in. It's been on the desk for 2 days. Then yesterday, a couple of notes. Turfway got in that Thursday card without a problem, and KK and I managed to put Joe Sharp right into the winner's circle. We talked about Joe off to a rough start at Florence, y'all. But the Dilworths, their Munnings filly, Money, went off favored and comes through under Gabe Saez. We talked about Gabe. And so that gets Joe Sharp off the duck at Turfway. Other than that, seemingly a formful afternoon. I saw that the Mosers, Ed and Steve, with Dr. Sakali in that featured eighth. So nice that they got the card in. I think they should be okay tomorrow, right? For the Saturday card, the Valdale, the feature. New York, we'll certainly talk more about the situation yesterday. The first day of new CAW restrictions. It's certainly, a little too early to conclude anything. This era, though, it did start off with a bit of a bang, didn't it? CAWs, they had a computer glitch, more or less, and sent in an outlandish series of win bets in the first for 300,000 plus, and got skunked, and it ended up skewing the win payout on the winning favorite. Yeah, pretty intriguing. I'll let Dave wrote just a little tidbit about it in the forum. It was obviously well discussed online. Undergrad ends up paying 1032. This was a kooky situation, and of course the conspiracy, the tin hat crowd, they're working overtime about what went on yesterday. It did seem, just at a glance, it did seem like the exacta payouts, which are probably the easiest read, did seem like the exacta payouts were more in line with what you would want, what you would hope. So we'll let Dave and we'll let there's not going to be racing Saturday and Sunday in New York. So they've already canceled. It's going to be negative. It's going to be ridiculous here. So they've already canceled Saturday and Sunday. So we do have today's card, and then next week we'll keep watching and we'll get there'll be, I'm sure, a nonstop analysis of what the restrictions, how they're essentially affecting the payouts. All right. Just about ready for Brad Free to join us. I will also mention, let me see, what else did I have on? I had this sad note. More Spirit died apparently earlier in January, and word Word started to circulate the other day. And 13, Dr. Alday's explained this. We've discussed this. Stallions, in particular, he died of colic, and he had 2 episodes since he was shipped. And as stallions, in particular, as they age, the mobility, the ability of their intestine, which is as complicated a system in the animal world, I imagine. I mean, it just how much intestine they have. And actually, Paula from Succeed, I might get her on to discuss this. Their intestine thickens, and it doesn't move like it does in a young horse. And then when you throw in the stress, I mean, colic is basically a reaction to stress in the racehorse and in horses in general. And when you move them, and that's why, not that this is a shuttle situation, this was a relocation situation, but when you do this, that upheaval is very tough on them. That's why the shuttling that's an issue. That's why so many of them, go down to South America to shuttle and, end up same thing, colicking and spiking fevers and becoming susceptible to, colitis and whatever. Very tough. It was sad. I was a fan of his. More Spirit, and we saw him come to New York, and it was good. One of Escandaria's good sons. Brad Free is standing by. Brad, good morning.
Good morning, Steve. How are you?
I'm good. You saw More Spirit plenty of times, both training.
Absolutely, he was a really good. Did he win the Met Mile in a landslide?
Sure.
Yeah. That's what he was. He seemed like a kind of under the top echelon early on, and then that Met Mile win, I believe, was explosive that day. So very good horse, and I appreciate all the veterinary insight that you provided earlier.
Well, and it's a real thing. I mean, they've got a boiler system. There's plenty of design. God is pretty handy, but the design system on a thoroughbred, there's a couple of flaws.
It's amazing that a half-ton animal can be as delicate as thoroughbreds are. I mean, it is a very, very, it's a very tricky system. More Spirit was a good horse.
Well, and in fact, a Robert B. Lewis winner, right. That's part of our focus today. Nice card tomorrow. I already mentioned we got a pretty nice carryover into the pick 6 today. The $2 pick 6, and the Sunset 6 has also got a carryover. So today's card, is there anything? You got any heavy leans today that might help pick 6 players?
I wish I did. Look, today's card is vanilla. There's really nothing on this card except the $52,000 carryover, and so there's going to be $300,000 probably in new money that mitigates the takeout. So I guess if you're a player, you're almost obligated, so to speak, to make a play. I like our Moonlight in race number 8. She's not even the morning line favorite, and there's still the question of whether she really wants to go 2 turns. She's lightly raced, daughter of Tappet, adding blinkers, second start off a layoff. I like her over the 6-5 favorite Run a Mile in My Shoes, but that's the only lean that I have, and it comes in a 5-horse field. It's a one other than for fillies and mares, so it's not a real great, huge revelation, but I think our Moonlight wins race number 8. If I do play the pick 6, and I'll probably put in a small ticket, our Moonlight will be a standalone single in race number 8. Other than that, the other 5 races, they're tough, and it ends with an N2L 25 claimer at 1 1/8 on grass. That's impossible. I ended up picking, it really is. The horse that I picked is a horse named Prince Dolce at 9-5, dropping in class and has to come from the clouds. So I don't know. It's a difficult sequence, and yet the field sizes are not huge. I mean, there's 4 7-horse fields, a 6-horse field, and a 5-horse field. But when you look through the sequence, there is no obvious free bingo square anywhere in the sequence. Again, I like Our Moonlight. She's not the favorite. I think that she'll win, but I don't know for sure that she will get 2 turns. So Our Moonlight in race number 8 would be my only play at a whopping 8-5.
Yeah. All right. That could help some players. And let me ask you about the weekend past as well, because there were a couple of maiden winners that I'm curious about. Talk to John Sheriffs about Westwood. That was a breakthrough for him in the San Pascal.
It was a nice win and a terrific ride. That we talked about this race last Friday, and I mean, both of us kind of threw our hands up in the air like, I don't know what's going to happen. The one thing, the horse that I ended up picking, and I expressed some reservations about the selection last week, was Midnight Mammoth, who was coming back on short notice off a career high fig. And boy, you talk about a horse that bounced. Midnight Mammoth bounced to the moon. He was done on the far turn, but Westwood took the track and wired the field at 9 by the trainee. And by the way, Shearer had a first-time starter in the maiden race, I think you were referring to, by the name of Deep Tracks, who ran very, very well. He finished 3rd. Sheriffs does not crank up his first-time starters to win. It's a schooling exercise most of the time with a debut runner trained by Sheriffs. And Deep Tracks, he ran terrific. He finished 3rd, and it was a super debut by him. And I think that he's a $1 million colt owned by Lee and Susan Searing. And that was a perfect, ideal career launch for Deep Track. So he's one that we can definitely keep an eye on.
Patanti, the expensive Baffert runner at 3-5, ran okay. Modest fig of 79. I thought that on Sunday, the filly, that forced entry, that was a nice performance.
Well, back to Potente. It was just an okay race for Potente. I think he got a 79, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Yeah. Baffert believes that he was actually short for that race. In fact, Baffert had 3 in the race. 2 of them got sick and had to scratch. He was Baffert. This is a story he told me, that he was talking to the owner of Potente early in the week, and the owner said, should I come out? Should I fly out to watch this horse run? And Baffert says, well, I'm not sure if he's ready. I've got 2 others in the race, and I'm paraphrasing what Baffert said. And anyway, Baffert's other 2 scratched, and Potente carried the day. But if Baffert is right that Potente was short, then he's the colt that could go places. He cost $2.4 million as a yearling, and it was a winning debut. Baffert, after the race, he said, now he's ready. So we're going to find out how good Potente is. When you spend $2.4 million on a horse, your chances are you're going to be in a stakes race after you win a maiden race. So it'll be interesting to see how good Potente is. It's tough to gauge off a 79 sprint buyer, but I think he certainly has the tools, and he's in the right hands. As far as the filly on Sunday, that was a horrible race, actually. Would they go? I want to say 38 and change. For forced entry, 38.28. The number actually came back okay, an 81, but forced entry, was racing over a Santa Anita track that has been highly speed conducive at 1 mile this winter. Most every winner of a dirt mile this winter has been forwardly placed, and I think close to half of them have gone gate to wire. She got loose, and she was gone by 7. It was an easy trip, a soft trip by the stretch out filly. And it was a good, solid race for her. She has things to prove as well. So a couple of Baffert trained maiden winners who ran well enough to suggest that they might be good horses, but they're not quite there yet. Forced entry being one of those, but a good, solid second career start for forced entry. And she clearly relished the 2 turns.
And finally, a sweet result. The Jeff Siegel owned Surfing USA broke the maiden. On Sunday.
That was cool. And, she was overdue for a win. She'd had a couple of bad trips. She lost a shoe inside the starting gate 2 starts back, and had a brutal trip last time out. There were a lot of people rooting for Surfing USA on Sunday at Santa Anita, just in memory of Jeff Siegel. His sister was out at the track that day, and
nice.
A lot of the media celebrities were in the winner's circle after the race, and Serpent USA. She won the race by ahead under a great ride by Mirko de Muro. Just sentimentality aside, and everybody's glad that, you know, a horse that was owned by Siegel won the race. She was probably third best in the race, to be honest. Fancy Lady, the runner-up, had trouble, and the third place finisher, Acoustic Kitty, in my opinion, should have crushed. She had all sorts of trouble early. She was far back. She finished well. She lost by less than a length. Fancy Lady and Acoustic Kitty, the 2-3 finishers from Serpent USA's race, they both ran well enough to win. I think there was a very opportunistic victory by Serpent USA today, and you know, terrific training job by Leonard Powell and a great ride by de Muro. But the winner, Serpent USA today, again, I think she was third best in the race.
Well, keep Acoustic Kitty on the bet back list. And in fact, since I just said that, Brad, I should remind everybody, you do the Horse to Watch recap weekly, and it's a tremendous resource. You do exactly what you just talked about.
Well, thank you. And it usually runs on Saturday. Occasionally, they have to push it over to Sunday for space limitations. But yeah, I agree. And thank you. It's a good exercise for me as a handicapper, and also, you know, offers horse players anywhere to maybe take a look at a horse that they might have overlooked. And yeah, it's actually produced a number of winners. In fact, some of them. I had a horse on the Horses to Watch list, and I'm still kicking myself because his name was Start the Ride, and he ran super in his career debut. He was held up by the starter, and when the gates opened, he was away, you know, a mile last, and finished in a rally. Off that maiden, I think he finished fourth. He made my Horses to Watch list, and off that maiden fourth place finish, trainer Dan Blacker put him in the Cal Cup Derby. And I completely missed the boat. And I can't remember what he paid, but it was like $26 or $28. But yeah, I'm looking for horses that are not, you know, quite as obvious. The runaway debut winners are the impressive comebackers like Cornucopian made the list last week. I kind of had to put him on the list because I think he's going to be a star in 2026. But I prefer to try to keep the Horses to Watch list confined to horses that are maybe a little less obvious. Start the Ride was one of those. And again, I have nobody but myself to blame for missing out on him in the Cal Cup Derby. A couple of the guys up in the press box actually threw him in on a pick six ticket. I thought they were crazy.
Wow.
But anyway, Start the Ride won the race off the Horses to Watch list. So yeah, it's a fun tool. It's usually in the Saturday edition, occasionally in the Sunday edition.
That was in the era of American Turf Monthly. Those were my favorite. The Fit and Ready. That was my I loved Fit and Ready. That always produced. And there were what were the other? There were like 3 different sections with the Horses to Watch and Horses to Bet list. American Turf Monthly. The kids don't. Brad, the kids don't know.
No kidding. I know. Yeah. Anyway,
right? I mean, you would wait for it to come in the mailbox. I mean, it
was a good. There used to be so many publications that have gone by the wayside. I mean, I don't know. Is American Turf Monthly even a publication anymore? Even did they have an online presence? I don't know. Barry Meadows,
Barry, absolutely,
put out a weekly or bi-weekly publication. Handicappers Report they've confined their coverage now, I believe, to workouts. It's now called the SoCal Workout Report. But yeah, there used to be a lot more than there are now. So I like to, maybe I'm kind of filling in the blanks a little bit with the Horses to Watch list in DRF.
Well, and I just looked, AmericanTurf.com.
Oh, okay.
There's something here, and I'll see how. I got to see how current it is. It looks like they've got some selections. There it is, Fit and Ready selections.
Well, it's still out. Well, good for them. I mean, that's great. That's great. And remember, Horse Player Magazine. Are they a thing?
Well, ask Quigley. You'll see Quigley this afternoon.
I will, exactly. Yeah, for sure. There used to be a lot more than there are now, but the game is contracting, and some of these publications have gone by the wayside.
Well, and publications in general. I mean, it's
no kidding.
It's
Look at the Washington Post this week.
well,
So,
this is
another
a tragic,
example.
just ridiculous, a tragic piece. Should be ashamed of himself. Let's start with this Lewis, which is really good, and I don't think the Bafferts have to win by any stretch.
No, I don't either. I mean, Baffert wins this race every year, it seems. In fact, he's won it 9 of the last 10 years. Every winner paid even money or less. 7 of those 9 winners were odds on. And as usual, Baffert has the favorite this year in the Lewis, and that's Desert Gate. He's making his first start in 4 months. There's still, a question of how far he really wants to run, but he was a top class 2-year-old. He romped in the grade 3 best pal, finished second in the Del Mar Futurity, a good second, and then second again in the American Pharoah behind Intrepido. He was supposed to go in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. Desert Gate was. He came down with a hawk infection. They had to treat it, and so that was out of the equation. So Desert Gate's coming back off a 4-month layoff, and a lot of times you might say, well, geez, does he need one? I don't think he needs one. It's a go on Saturday. And the way that he worked last weekend, he worked inside Litmus Test early in the morning. I think it was Sunday morning or Saturday, one of those 2 days. Anyway, the two came to the wire together. They both got the same time, 1 minute and 3/5. Desert Gate was on the inside, and he was going so much easier than Litmus Test. Litmus Test is a good horse. He won the Los Al Futurity. Desert Gate was practically toying with Litmus Test, and I think that workout is actually on the First TV network. It's available for viewing. So feel free to anybody out there to watch the workout and judge for yourself. But based on that workout that I saw in person at Santa Anita, Desert Gate's ready to roll. He also is the control. Again, 1 mile dirt races this winter at Santa Anita have been highly speed conducive. So he's got a lot of things working in his favor. He's training well. He's high class. He's going to probably have the lead and the rail, and they'll have to catch him to beat him. But you're right. It's not a 1-horse race. Intrepido is a very good horse. He lost his chance in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. He broke slowly, and that was it. He did uncork a little bit of a mid-race move, but on that Del Mar speed favoring track during Breeders' Cup week, he had really no chance. And that was, and of course, Ted Noffey and Mr. AP ran 1-2 in that race. Intrepido's coming in off way off. To me, he's kind of a mystery horse. I'm not sure what the expectations are. I tried to get Jeff Mullins to give me some, insight, and he said he's training like he always trains, and this and that. So I really don't know. It's the first start back for Intrepido. I think both Desert Gate and Intrepido coming off layoffs. Between the two, I know for sure that it's a go for Desert Gate. I don't really know what they're going to trying to accomplish with Intrepido, whether it's just a give me comeback to get him on toward the road toward a Derby somewhere, or if they're trying to win first start back. So I'm a little bit mystified on Intrepido, but the horse that I'm most interested in watching in the Lewis, and he's not going to be 6-1. I really see his odds going considerably shorter, and that's the horse on the bottom, number 7, Secured Freedom. Ran an even 4th in his career debut. That was a stone give that day, and second time out on opening day at Santa Anita, he absolutely destroyed the field. He sat just off the pace. He won by more than 4 lengths. He got a huge number, an 88 buyer, a 2 3/4 on Thoroughgraph. That number towers over this field. It was a 6.5 furlong race. I get that. And now they're going a mile on Saturday. But even before his maiden win, the clockers who have been watching Secured Freedom throughout winter suggested that Secured Freedom is a practical Joe colt that wants to turns. Trainer Tim Yachtin believes that as well, and so do his owners. I spoke with his owner, Pierre Amistoy, early this week, and he said that all along they thought that this colt was a 2-turn horse. So Secured Freedom with that giant number, 88 buyer, 2 3/4 Thoroughgraph with a forwardly placed running style going 2 turns. I think he's going to be lapped right outside Desert Gate. And I can see Secured Freedom, pressing the pace and running right past Desert Gate if his connections are right that he wants to go 2 turns. Again, he's not going to be 6-1 because his number is too high. Secured Freedom he has some questions to answer, obviously, against better horses. Yakin said that 2 turns is not going to be an issue. The question is he good enough? And we're gonna find out. The numbers say that he is. And Secured Freedom, very interesting horse. You know, I mentioned earlier that I made a mistake by not betting on Start the Ride in the Cal Cup Derby. When the last Kentucky Derby future wager pool was open, I rarely bet an individual horse. But this was one horse that it seemed like he was kind of slipping through the cracks. And so I was monitoring the action all Sunday afternoon, and nobody was betting on Secured Freedom, 60-1, 70-1. And I thought, well, you know what? I'm going to break my own rule and make an wager on an individual horse. Not that I'm saying Secured Freedom is going to win the Kentucky Derby, but he certainly has the tools. I got dilly-dallying around on Sunday afternoon, and what an idiot! I'm an idiot, a complete and total idiot. Secured Freedom closed at something like 80-1. I was shocked at the price, kicking myself for not putting a few bucks on him at that number. But anyway, that ship has sailed. So Secured Freedom, he would have been a great bet, I think, in the Kentucky Derby future wager pool recently. I don't have a ticket on him, unfortunately, but I'm interested in watching him run and seeing how he develops. Of course, Yakin and the same owners won the Santa Anita Derby 3 years ago with Practical Move. And Secured Freedom, another son of Practical Joke, similar to Practical Move. And this colt is going places, and we're going to find out, just how good he is, or at least one step closer to that answer on Saturday in the Lewis. And this is an exciting colt, and I'm very, very interested in watching him run. But I did pick Desert Gate and Trepido second and Secured Freedom third. Those are 3 very good horses. Plutarch is a good horse. He can run on dirt. He'll be rallying late. I think a mile might be a little short for him. Cherokee Nation had a horrible trip last time out, finishing second in a maiden race. Briggs Army Power, I think he's overmatched. He, raced in Colorado and Arizona. And then Robusta, lightly raced horse. He's only started twice. He won a maiden route last time out. His number jumped up to 8 1/4. And he's in the field as well. But when it all is said and done, I think it's Desert Gate and Trepido and Secured Freedom are the 3 in the Lewis. And for a 3-year-old race in California, a 3-year-old stakes race in California, to attract 7 starters, I'm surprised they didn't split the race. Anyway, it's a big field for California, because last winter at Santa Anita, I believe that all 3 graded stakes races around 2 turns, including the Santa Anita Derby, had 5 starters or fewer. So a huge field in the Bob Lewis, 7 runners led by Desert Gate, going to try to take them wire to wire.
Well, I don't want to make you feel bad, but I did not dilly-dally, and I bet Secured Freedom as well as
fantastic.
I was watching him too, and when the number just seemed preposterous.
It was preposterous. It was preposterous. Listen, when you're making a bet on the Kentucky Derby future wager, you're not predicting victory in the Run for the Roses. All you're trying to do is get a horse there with a chance.
Exactly.
And this horse, at this stage of the game in early February, he has a chance. What do you know off the top of your head, Steve, what the actual price that he closed out was?
I want to say 83.
I don't have that handy.
I just looked in my stack of future wager stuff, and I've got the PPs with the morning line. Let's see. This is the November. This is pool 1. I keep all of this. I'm
sure.
I'm an idiot. Tina says I'd be one of those people.
I had to be 80-1 or higher.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. Normally in that situation, I usually take the all others, but I've kind of backed away from that tactic of late. Since Churchill Downs expanded the number of individual horses, there are fewer options in the all others. On all others bet, it's a wager that says, I don't think the Derby winner is on the list of individual runners. There's not usually a horse that you like on all others. It's a bet against everyone else. But the all others closed at 7-2. I don't want to tie up my money for more than 3 months at 7-2. In a wager like that. So I passed entirely on the most recent Kentucky Derby future wager, but unfortunately, I let the Secured Freedom, I think that's an overlay at this stage of the game, let him pass by. I'm glad that you took a piece of him at that number.
Well, I've got it. Now I found it. 83-1.
Wow. Yeah.
Was the final. Yeah. Well, but how about this? I also have Otino, the Chad Brown for the Withers later. And Otino, 99-1, but actually in reality is 135-1.
That is crazy. That's a crazy price. Yeah. Wow.
Paladin,
he's 9-5 today in the he's
exactly
9-5 to win the Withers today. So, you know what? Going into today's races, I'd say you're in a pretty good spot. When we talk again, whenever that is, you might be crying in your beer. But any good numbers to have, Otino and Secured Freedom at giant prices.
I've also got Mesquite 57-1 with Cherie, which is pretty good. And I got Trombetta crossing the channel, who is a robust 480-1.
480-1.
Yes, he would pay $967.08 to win the Derby.
Wow. Well, so let's hope one of those horses gets there and gives you a chance. That's all you're trying to do.
Exactly.
Just get to the gate on the first Saturday in May.
Exactly right. Next week, our next chance. I've only got one other race I want you to cover.
Sure.
The rest of the card is, it's fine. Thunder Road, though, and the nightcap after the Lewis. And so, this gives people a $5 double chance, the late double, which Big Leo, we talked about this, and I hope it's converting people to the higher denomination bets. The Sweet Life came up really good.
It did, and it's a big field. It's a $100,000 stake race for 3-year-old fillies, 6.5 on the downhill turf course. And the favorite is 3-1, so a good number on the favorite, a high price. And that's number 6, Hamika, who I ended up picking. First time she's raced on grass. There's no reason to expect that she won't handle grass. She's by Curlin out of a mare who won. I think she won 3 of 6 on turf anyway. Motivated Seller, if I'm not mistaken. She's kind of the class of the field. Her numbers are just okay. I mean, she best thoroughgraph number is a 7. That's, just a decent number, probably, deserves favoritism off that fig. And she's been running against, some of the best horses. She ran against Explora, Bottle of Rouge, etc. She's taken a little bit of a class drop on Saturday in the Sweet Life, and she's the horse to beat. She's a front runner. But she's not a standout by any stretch of the imagination. I thought that number 2, La Vie Lumiere, who was supplemented to this race, she's listed at 8-1, a very attractive 8-1, shortening up from a win in the Blue Northern. That was a 1-mile race. She's going to be coming from behind, shortening from a mile to 6.5. And this is a good filly, trained by Mike McCarthy. I don't quite understand why she would be as high as 8-1, but it's a deep field, a big field of 10, 12 entered, actually. I picked La Vie Lumiere supplemented to this race as the second choice. And I thought that there's an interesting comebacker in here. Light One Up, trained by Doug O'Neill. The way that O'Neill's going right now, I mean, you got to take a second look at everything he starts. She hasn't raced since last June, so she's giving away a recency advantage. But we know she runs well fresh. She won a 4.5 furlong dirt race last May at Santa Anita, and she basically crushed the field. And she beat La Vie Lumiere in that race. La Vie Lumiere would come back and win her next start. But Light One Up, the fact that she's in this race instead of maybe, well, I don't know if they even have allowance races for 3-year-old fillies anymore in California. So this might be the only option, but there's no reason to believe that Light One Up won't handle grass as well. She's by City of Light. She's out of a mare that was a 3-time winner on turf, including a stakes race. Looks like she's trained well. I don't have a lot of insight into her workouts, but O'Neill's on a roll right now. Light One Up's coming in off a layoff is kind of the mystery horse because we haven't seen her since last June. And her and Hamika are going to, one or the other is going to make the lead, and one or the other will sit second. And who knows, maybe they will make it a parade. But Hamika at 3-1, a very non-creative selection. I thought that La Vie Lumiere was interesting at a little bit higher price, listed at 8.
before we wrap, and we do have to mention the Las Virgenes on Sunday, even though it's kind of obvious.
No, it's not. I wouldn't say it's obvious.
All right.
No,
well, hold on.
not
give
at all.
me 1 sec though. Let's.
Sure.
I morning line surprised me on Mohaven, who's making a turf debut for Sadler. There's a chance that Mohaven is loose on the lead here a little bit, and I looked up I see a very surprising stat, Brad, that I would not, if I didn't look and see it, I wouldn't have necessarily thought. Yoppen is 15% first turf.
That's interesting. He strikes me as a dirt sire, right?
Correct. You bet. 15% first turf, 12% overall. I was that sort of took me aback a little bit. There's 2 other prices that I think are worth talking about. What's wrong with Umbrale from Sadler as well? And then you've got, there was one other in here. Oh, Yours Sincerely.
Yours Sincerely. Yeah. Yours Sincerely. I think she found her niche last time out, and that's as a sprinter. She kind of, I know that she won her U.S. debut in a maiden race going 2 turns, but she just couldn't quite finish the job in 3 subsequent turf stakes races going 2 turns. D'Amato backed her up to 6 furlongs, dropped her into an allowance, and she rallied from behind. She was the 6-5 favorite that day. She was adding Lasix. It seems like she might be a sprinter. That might be what she is. And if the pace gets, severe, Yours Sincerely certainly has a chance from behind. Umbrale, I have to be honest. I've never thought that, this filly was a whole lot, despite her pedigree says that she could be anything by Into Mischief out of the Superstar Unique Bella. But she's not particularly fast. I don't know. She's just a well-bred filly with, in my opinion anyway, modest ability, Umbrale. But Mohaven is, I guess she's interesting. I mean, she's a Calbred facing Open Company, first start since late October. Her January 25th workout in 49 did not get a real glowing analysis from SoCal Workout Report. I haven't seen it myself in person online. I don't know. It seems like a tall order for Mohaven. First time turf against real horses. She's been facing Open Company. She's facing Open Company on Saturday for the first time after facing Calbreds. But that's an interesting stat with regards to her sire, who apparently can get a grass horse. Yalpan can.
Turn quickly to the Las Virgenes on Sunday, and we've got the champ Super Corredora back for Sadler, but Baffert counters with the Santa Ynez winner Explora, who chased her home in the Breeders' Cup. So you're right. It's not open and closed.
Well, place finishers from
right.
the Breeders' Cup juvenile fillies are in the Las Virgenes, which will be run this year without a grade attached to it. It was a grade 1 10 years ago, lowered to a grade 2, lowered to a grade 3, and now it's a non-graded stake entirely, which is really coincidental or whatever you want to call it, because with the first, second, and fourth place finishers from the Breeders' Cup juvenile fillies running in a non-graded stake with a $100,000 purse, something you don't see very often. Explora is listed as the 3-5 favorite. I thought that was a little bit short, but her win in the Santa Ynez was terrific. She crushed by more than 5 lengths. I know she was 1-20 in that race, so anything short of a victory would have been a disappointment. And she does have a recency advantage over her 2 rivals, those being Super Corredora and Meaning. In the Breeders' Cup juvenile fillies, Super Corredora got the jump on Explora, and she wired the field. I think Baffert was a little bit frustrated after the race because he thought Explora should not have, relinquished the lead to Super Corredora. But Super Corredora took advantage of the situation, wired the field. Explora ran well to finish second. Those are the 2 principles. But in a 4-horse field, how often do you get wagering value in a 4-horse field? Practically never. But I think number 1 Meaning might be a very good horse. Wow. She was making only the 2nd start of her career in the Breeders' Cup. She didn't have the greatest of trips. She probably should have finished 3rd instead of 4th. He was ahead behind Percy's Bar. She's coming in off a layoff, making only the 3rd start of her career. We don't know how good she is yet, but to run 4th in the Breeders' Cup off a debut sprint win at Los Alamitos, suggests to me that Meaning might be at least as good as Explorer and Super Corridora. And the trainer, Michael McCarthy, you can't throw him out of a stakes race at a price. I mean, I think that Call Sign 7 paid $139 winning the Seabiscuit. Velocity paid $72 winning the Del Mar Oaks last summer. Meaning is the third choice on the board, or on the morning line in the Las Virgenes at 7-2. And I honestly think she might be worth betting. If Explorer and Super Corridor keep each other, busy on the front end, Meaning could get a great trip sitting right behind them. Flavian Pratt is in to ride Meaning, and I think that she has a chance to spring an upset. I picked Super Corridor over Explorer over Meaning, but I wouldn't mind taking Meaning at her morning line, which is 7-2. I expect that she might get bet down a little bit. To me, these fillies should be 8-5, 9-5, and 2-1. And that means that Meaning would be the only overlay among those three. And she might be worth betting, Meaning, but Super Corridor and Explorer are the established class of field 1-2 finishers in the Breeders' Cup running in the non-graded Las Virgenes.
Who'd you pick in the Clockers Corner?
In the Clockers, I'm glad you asked, because this is a race I do have an opinion on. I think that Sumter is going to end up going favored. He ran super last time out, finishing second in the Joe Hernandez. But if you go back and watch the Hernandez, Yellow Card never had a chance. He was buried inside. He had nowhere to go. He was blocked the length of the lane, and he finished sixth by 5 lengths. I made him best bet on the card. Michael McCarthy trainee. All he needs is a clean trip, and we know he's good enough. He finished second in the Eddie D Stakes, the Grade 2 Eddie D Stakes last fall at Santa Anita. Finished a close fifth in the Stormy Liberal, going 5 furlongs at Del Mar, and had no chance in the Hernandez last time out. I think with a clean trip, Yellow Card can win the Clockers Corner, and I'm hoping I get somewhere in the neighborhood of 5-1 or so, and I hope the money comes in on Sumter, who I picked second and who's rock solid, no question about that. But I like Yellow Card quite a bit, enough to make a wager on him in the Clockers Corner.
This is on the flat, the 6 furlong turf course, and very interesting. Speedboat Beach tries again too on the turf as Baffert tries to figure out what to do with him.
Yeah, he has a license to improve. He won the Grade 1 Malibu in 2023, and he looked like he was going to be Baffert's next star sprinter. Things have not gone according to plan since then. He's only made 4 starts since then. Favored 3 times, lost all 4 starts. He drifted really wide into the stretch last time in his comeback. I know it was his first start in a little while, and first start on grass since he was a 2-year-old. I don't really know what he is these days. He could improve. The horse that I thought was kind of interesting at a giant number. Again, I like Yellow Card and prefer him, and we'll bet on him. But number 6 Flyover was engaged in a blazing pace duel in the Joe Hernandez. They went 20-4, 42-4. I know they're going downhill, but those are fast fractions even for a hillside race at Santa Anita. There's a little bit less speed in the Clockers Corner than there was in the Hernandez, and I can see Flyover getting a little bit more comfortable trip. He'll have to put away Speedboat Beach and Virat, but Flyover, he was 26-1 and finished 8th in the Hernandez. He has to be a big number in the Clockers Corner in a race that should unfold at a little bit softer pace. So Flyover would be my knockout on the front end, but I do like Yellow Card quite a bit.
There's the weekend from today's carryover card at Santa Anita, and then right straight through to, again, solid every day. There's something to bet for sure. Brad Free.
Yeah.
Thank you. You got a Super Bowl pick?
I'm a little, listen, I'm not a sports bettor. Let me preface it by saying this, but I honestly thought that Seattle would be favored by a touchdown. The fact that it's only 4.5 points suggests to me that there's something that I am missing, because I think that Seattle's defense is just, they don't give a quarter. And I think that Seattle flat wins the race. I think I made a prediction in Daily Racing Forum that Seattle wins by a 31-17 margin. I think that what I'll probably end up doing, just for the sake of action, is taking the over 45.5 on the point spread. But I think Seattle is just a better team. I love their defense. Their quarterback is on a roll right now. He's locked in. And I think Seattle just makes a mockery of the New England Patriots.
There we go. As our first push on the bowl. Brad, enjoy the weekend. We'll talk next week.
Okay, talk to you soon, Steve. Take care.
Brad Free, everybody. We'll go to Hot Springs, and Jeff Taylor, JT, standing by. The newly retired Jeff Taylor. What's retirement like, Jeff?
Well, I really haven't had time to do a lot in my retirement, to be honest with you. And I preface this going in that it wasn't cold turkey here. I'm just scaling back my operations, my day-to-day duties for Equibase. Kind of is a casualty in all this, but I'm still doing some work for our good friends at Thoroughgraph here at Hot Springs, and I'm going out to the track today. I'll be present for Equibase on the graded Saturdays throughout the course of the spring meet. They want somebody on the ground here to kind of look things over.
Nice.
And since it's familiar territory, obviously that fell to me. So yeah, not getting anywhere close to being out of it, but just scaling back a little bit, Steve.
Well, we have to not scale back, but gear up with an extra Friday card that is really outstanding. And it doesn't start with the Southwest. In fact, the Southwest on the back end. Let's start there though, and we'll work our way back through today's action.
Yeah, it's this race came up deep. I mean, who has 14 horses? At least that's the number entered in Derby preps anymore. I mean, it's just kind of an example of Oaklawn's not dominance in numbers. That's probably not a good phrase, but certainly no shortage of horses here, Steve, and hope springs eternal on the Derby trail. And this is an early step for many of these colts today. And, from a handicapping standpoint, I'm a pace guy, and I look this thing over, and I just see a lot of pace, a lot of quality pace, certainly, but pace nonetheless. Some of these colts a little unproven, but I'm anxious to see what they're all about. The Code probably is at the top of that list, as good as he looked in graduating here at first asking in mid-December, going short, of course, but that issue was never in doubt, and it was no secret. He was 9-5 and certainly ran like it, and it's going to be interesting to see if he can do his thing up front. Obviously, he's got the speed to go. He's got the post to do it with from the 2-hole. He's got reclamation inside of him. They may elect to ship him as well. There's a couple other colts in here that are stretching out that I do see a fairly lively set of fractions here. You've got about half a dozen in here coming out of that Smarty Jones, which we ran at the first of the month. And a couple of those, I think, obviously are going to run a little bit better. Strategic Risk here, the 9-horse in the Southwest today, was an easy winner of that race, but he should have been. He got by with a 49 3/2 mile. Everything is on the way up front, and he just kind of galloped home 4.5 in front of, again, many that he catches back in this spot. And I'm going to lean toward one of those that he beat. I think Silent Tactic, Cassie's colt here from the 11-hole, outstanding value at 20-1 in the morning line, as dominant as Casey has been here in the what we call the holiday meet, the 3-4 week meet that we had in December. Yep. He was just El Fuego. He could not send out a loser, it seemed like. 11 for 23 during that 4-week period. Silent Tactic is going to have a much better pace scenario to work with today. They're going to go quick early. I don't think there's anybody that's going to doubt that. He was kind of under a double Nelson early in that race in the Smarty Jones. He didn't look anywhere close to being comfortable. I'm not going to say he was rated in the submission, but he wasn't liking it in the early stages. And he's going to be able to settle into his natural stride today, I think, and be his customary 4 or 5 lengths off of it without that kind of restraint. And those run closers, I feel like, run much better when they're able to relax early. And I think things get turned around completely here with regard to Strategic Risk. I think the outcome is reversed, basically. Silent Tactic did run second to that one eventually in the Smarty with a nice little rally. But the pace is going to help him. The Code I mentioned, he just may be anytime, Steve. If he's as good as he looked, obviously, in that maiden race, and his number was just huge. A 99 buyer. Who runs a 99 out of a maiden special in December as a 2-year-old? Not many. I think that was the second highest number that any juvenile run in any race last year. So all eyes on him. The wise guy horse, if you will, is getting a lot of verbiage out there, is Liberty National. Second place finisher in the gun runner down at the fairgrounds for trainer Kenny McPeak. That came back in December. Kenny's pretty high on this colt, but Kenny's usually high on all of his runners, especially in these high-profile 3-year-old races. But to take nothing away from this colt, he did run a pretty credible second. He was beaten as the favorite that day at 6-5. Didn't break all that well. Kenny said he really didn't get into the race until the latter stages, and he came running. Got beat less than a length there to Chip Honcho. So certainly at 10-1, he I think presents a very good value play as well. But 14 going in to choose from. I think Baffert's going to elect to choose, going to scratch one of his. I haven't gotten scratches today yet.
Litmus test.
Early for that. But there'll be one or two come out of here, but still a very big field and a very bettable Southwest this year.
I'm with you. I've talked about Cassie, for it feels like 10 days now. Silent tactic for me as well. Had Brad Cox on yesterday. That Rancho Santa Fe, I imagine, will not lose as much ground with Pratt as he did in the Smarty Jones. Soldier and Diplomat is going to have to go forward. I think he's dangerous from Asmussen. It's a terrific betting race, and there's so many different intersections here. There's the $3 late pick 3, the get out pick 3. There's the $5 late double. There's the cross country pick 5 with races 10 and 11 from Aqueduct. So there's just eye crossing opportunities. What are you doing in this Bugler, the restricted filly group? The MacArthur is the boys version of it, and this is a competitive bunch.
Yeah, it's competitive, and again, some more full fields here. I think Asmussen's probably got the filly in there to beat. She's going to be maybe a 5-2, 2-1 favorite called Blue Fire. She's the 8th horse there in today's 10th race. But just curious, Steve, this is a filly that was down at the fairground. She's a Louisiana bred. Delta is running their premiere night tomorrow night, and Blue Fire actually participated as a 3-year-old last year in that series of races for state breds, and it's good money. I mean, they give away $100,000. So why does she forego a spot that was much closer to her home or winter home in New Orleans at Delta tomorrow, and she ships up here to try this group of opens? I don't know. It's just something, Andy Meyer used to call it the logic of illogic, and you can read whatever you can into that. But, I just don't think she's that sort of a price favorite, legitimate favorite in my mind. And I'm going to go to a kind of a steady mare here that I think might be a race away. I mean, the big issue here, Steve, this week is going to be all that training time that we missed with the ice, with that ice storm. And Jacobson's got Marmalade Sky near the 10 horse. 12-1 in the morning line, and as I said, this mare is just ultra steady. I'm thinking she's a race away, but we're not going to get 10, 12-1 on her probably next time at this level. This is a restricted stake. It's more of a high-level allowance race than a stakes race because it's restricted to those that have not won a sweepstakes. But Marmalade Sky just always seems to show up. He's got some 3/8 of a mile workouts in her. He's got a half in her there before we went on the ice break. And I just don't know if that's going to be enough to have her ready. She's run fairly well off layoffs in the past, but, she's got a little class to her. I just think at 10 or 12-1, she does represent a betting opportunity. But this race, much like the Southwest, you can't hit the all button in all of these late horizontal plays. No. And, I wouldn't – to me, Blue Fire does not look like the free space that some people are going to make her out to be. That Louisiana bred stigma kind of just is nagging at me in respect, but I really couldn't find anyone that just jumped off the page at me. So I went to value, as I usually do. And I think Jacobson at 10 or 12-1 with Marmalade is the play of the race, but it's far from an overwhelmingly confident pick.
Yesterday, I talked about Foie Gras was going to be a consideration. I thought Pistol from Tommy Van Berg was worth using.
She's a hard-running mare. She comes off a win of herself, I believe, and that was back in November at Churchill, but she sure looked good doing so. She loves 6 furlongs right between the eyes from a distance standpoint. She gets Arietta. Certainly no surprise there. And at 12-1, she's another one at double digits I think you need to include in your mix. And, Tommy's been kind of low radar so far at this meet, but he had a great 25. I think he's going to get in gear here this second half of the meeting here. He's got some stock ready to roll, and she would not surprise me at all, Steve. That's actually a very good consideration.
should get a nice up close stalking trip. I thought there was a lot to like about her, including that 12-1. Backing up into the 9th race, this is a first level allowance, and Vital Mind, obviously the one to beat in here for Asmussen and Jose Ortiz.
Absolutely, and if there is a gimme, if you will, as far as legitimate heavy favorite to get keyed in on them, because you've got so much other variety in these other races, but Vital Mind just has the feel really of another top sprinter from the Asmussen Barney. Done such a good job with the Matolis and et cetera, through the years with these late developing 4-year-olds. And I think Vital Mind fits this profile perfectly. He is a very talented sort, lightly raced, a typical Asmussen profile. He's got Ortiz named on board. There's just not much to not like about this colt. Yes, he had to finish second to Stiglitz last time out, but Stiglitz just ran his eyeballs out. And anything close, I think, that Vital Mind puts together race-wise in relation to that certainly qualifies in this spot since he is back in allowance company. That was more of a stakes race last time out for him, and I think he actually catches a class break here, a substantial one. Only 3 starts. He's gotten better each and every one of those, and I think he takes another step forward today. Vital Mind, if there is a single today, I think he merits that kind of respect.
You know who ran a terrific race actually at Boxcars was Heart and Soul for Heather Orion, and maybe an underneath exotic consideration to boost the tries. That horse, you and I are both big Thorograph users, and from a fig standpoint, he's got a little bit of a look to him.
Absolutely, and if you like Vital Mind, you have to like Heart and Soul. They finished second and third there, a little bit like separated them. But if you want somebody to come in here, and that's the way to attack this race, I think, at least vertically, is to find somebody under Vital Mind that's going to pay a good amount of money for an exacta return. And Heart and Soul, I could certainly see her running second in here. She's a hard trier, he's a hard trier, and you say the numbers there, and seldom does this horse get any respect. 47-1 last time, 35-1 the start before that. Runs his race, and I think definitely he could be involved in the mix here.
The 8th race, which starts the late pick 5 and is also part of a middle pick 5 and pick 4. And the General MacArthur, this restricted as well, just like the Officers Club. Mile and an eighth. Mile and an eighth. I thought it was funny that they naming it for Douglas MacArthur. This is a fun group actually, and there's plenty of options.
Absolutely, and I'll begin with Stidham's horse here, 8-1, the 8 horse Energized. Louis Saez back on board today. Louis was up 2 starts back for a win at Churchill on Energized. Kind of an indifferent third, I thought, the last time we saw him. It was on the synthetic up at turf. I'm willing to kind of ease that race out of total consideration. Back on dirt today, this horse is proven at 1 mile and an eighth, and I think that's a big factor here. A lot of these horses haven't been this far, but Energized has been that way, been out twice. That last one over the synthetic at 1 mile and an eighth, but more importantly, the start before that up at Churchill, he did get the job done, as I mentioned, with Louis on board. Kind of a front-running sort. I've always leaned towards speed going 9 furlongs. For some reason, with that long run into that first turn, they settle easily on the front end, and I don't see a lot of pace in here for Energized to have some company with. So I think he gets by with a pretty soft set of early fractions and then kicks on through, especially with Louis back in the saddle.
Well, I got a couple of quick notes on this before we talk about the Martha Washington and anything else that you like today. Yesterday, much like in New York, the first card back after the racetracks had been pounded down, sealed to keep them from taking on too much moisture. Then there was the ice that was scraped off with the Great All. In fact, Ron Moquette from his famous vantage point behind the fence on the backside, Ron sent me a video the other morning with the Great All was chipping the ice off the surface. And then sure enough, yesterday, Jeff, there was only one horse that was even 3 lengths back. And that was in the feature. That was the only horse to close any ground, and it was only 3 lengths. You needed to be up front, and the same thing has been true in New York for 2 days.
Yeah, and I'm not a big bias guy, Steve. You know that, and it's got to be pretty prevalent for me to take notice of it. But I obviously did, and for some reason, the jocks here at Oaklawn, and I don't know if this is a national norm. I really haven't paid that much attention on it, but seems the fashionable thing for riders to do now is to be in that 2 or 3 path off the rail, and if 1 or 2 of the top jocks do it, then it seems like all of them do it. But in addition to the speed favoring angle of this strip yesterday, we had a couple of horses uncharacteristic for Oaklawn, and Ricardo Santana is a perfect example. He never goes inside, but he did get the job done with a rail skimming trip in the feature yesterday, the 5th season, and that's very uncharacteristic for him. We had another horse make a winning move out of the turn there at the quarter post, sneaking through on the rail. So the front and the inside, at least yesterday, was without a doubt the place to be.
The only horse I want to quickly mention here is Runaway Again, now in the Jacobson barn. And I brought him up, when he was cross-entered. And he's going to go maybe under the radar. In fact, let me look. 8-1. This is a Canadian Triple Crown winner, race winner, the Prince of Wales. His only dirt start was his best race. And now he's back on dirt. Predicting the Jacobson horses is maybe the toughest handicapping job, anywhere. So I don't, right? I don't entirely know what to expect, but I will reiterate, as I did the other day, that Runaway Again is getting back on dirt. How about the Martha Washington?
Yeah, I went around and around here in a couple of spots, and I'm always a value guy, and I just said I think there's maybe 1 or 2 in here that are probably going to outrun their price. I think Spitfire is one of them. This is a Kenny McPeak trainee, and 15-1, and Kenny McPeak, not really coincidental with a lot of confident play come 3-year-old season. But Spitfire, I think, is qualified in here. She's not run a bad race in 3 consecutive dirt starts to begin her career. I'm willing to toss the last, the Selma over the synthetic, or over the grass, at Laurel, definitely over the turf. But she didn't like it. She wasn't really supposed to at 15-1. Much more comfortable on the main track. And yes, her numbers, Buyer-wise, are definitely a level below most of the other major contenders in here. But, in Peak and Hernandez, you can never toss them out of the way because they just seem to surprise one time every big card, and this could be their time here. Is she an Oaks filly, Spitfire? Probably not. But this is not really an Oaks indicative field, if you want to be honest with it. All these horses have had plenty of opportunities to prove that they are headed in that direction. I just don't see the lightly raced kind of superstar that you see this early in the season with maybe a win and a really impressive allowance score. Counting Stars, one of the 2 from Cassie, the other one being Search Party, probably going to go 1-2 here as far as the wagering goes, and with due cause, because they did look good, both of them, in winning here by half a dozen lengths each. Search Party and Maiden Company, Counting Stars in the year's end, the flat miler here, we ran towards late December, kind of the prelude to this race. And, Counting Stars probably is the most flashy on paper, but she has not convinced me that she could be up to the top echelon yet, at least in this division. So, I think this race is a little bit more scrambled than those 2. And I'm going to go for McPeak here at 15-1, maybe get a part of it, but I just can't leave him out. She's perfect in the exact in 3 previous tries, one of them including in a stakes race that she ran at Monmouth. She's going to have to run faster without a doubt, but I think she may be up to the task today. She comes off a lengthy layoff, but she's been training well. I think she's adapted well. She's been at the fairgrounds instead of missing all that time here training. She has trained up without missing a lick down south, and McPeak's going to ship her up here for a reason. And I think she represents, but maybe not to the point of winning this, but I'm certainly going to start some gimmicks with her.
Outstanding. Jeff, as always, great to connect and start the Oaklawn coverage, and I'll be checking in with you more regularly.
Absolutely, Steve. Always a pleasure, my friend.
You got a Super Bowl push?
Counter to Brad, and I respect Brad a lot, but I think the line is indicative, like you said. Seattle on paper looks better than the touchdown, so I think the wise guys maybe know something. as far as betting, I think I'm going to probably bet some props rather, with some of New England's running game. I think perhaps people are overlooking everything's on Drake May. He's not played very well so far in the postseason, but I think they run the ball. I think Seattle can be run on. So I'm going to probably get Stevenson and Henderson involved with some props. If I had to pick an outright winner, Seattle obviously is the choice, but I think this game's going to be a little closer than most people think.
All right, I appreciate it. We'll keep checking in with everybody and get their approaches. Jeff Taylor, everybody, the one and only JT. Dave Grenning is with us, and Dave, there will be a Washington football team appearance in a Super Bowl in your lifetime.
There have been several in my lifetime, and I'm not counting on many more going forward. But hopefully you're right. But I don't think it's coming anytime soon.
Something did come yesterday, and we'll get to your Super Bowl pick in a minute. But the introduction of these expanded guardrails, quote unquote, and restrictions on the CAW. There was a absolute fumble Rooski in the first race yesterday. Explain to people what happened, and please take off your tinfoil hat.
So I asked Naira about it. It was a horse, Patience and Grace, number 4, took a ton of late money within 3 minutes to post. It went from, I don't know, I wasn't necessarily looking at the board at the time, but went to like 1 to 9. And the favorite, who was 3 to 5, I believe, shot up to 8 to 1 at one point, Undergrad, number 4. So that bet and 2 other wagers came in at the 3 minute mark to post. It was 182,000, I believe, was wagered on Patience and Grace. The 2 horse went off at 1 to 4. It was 23,000, I believe, bet on 3 9's Fine. It was number 5, and $700 bet on Garden of Grace. It was about 206,000 and change bet on those 3 horses at the 3 minute mark by a CAW player. CAW players cannot change their wagers at any time. I don't know if that person was intending to change it or not. But anyway, Undergrad, the horse that should have been 4 to 5 wins, pays $10.32, and anybody who backed that horse, Christmas comes early or late, depending on your position on the calendar. So a CAW player made $206,000 of losing wagers. That's what happened. Conspiracy theorists think that, well, he did that so he could boost up the price on Undergrad offshore. I don't think there's any offshore bookmaker who is giving 4 to 1 on Undergrad. And if they were certainly capping wagers. They weren't letting you bet whatever you wanted. So this person lost money on this particular wager on this particular day.
That's the way. Yeah, that's the way. That's the obvious conclusion. Obviously, one day is not going to give us a complete read, but seemingly the exacta payouts anyway. They seem to be more in line with what the general overview would be based on win odds. It seemed like. This may have helped. It's going to take, a lot more days of racing to see what the actual impact is.
1,000%. I mean, I believe David Aragona posted some charts on Twitter to sort of demonstrate what your point is, the point you just made is, and I didn't follow it as closely as he did, but it sounded like there was, like you said, the exacta wagers payouts were in line with more what they probably should have been than maybe some occasions where we've seen exacta payoffs that didn't. Now, I know someone said, wow, how can this exacta with 111 to 1 shot finishing second pay only $73? It's a totally different pool. That horse was not 111 to 1 in the one horse Tehila in the exacta pool. He was 90, he was a long shot, or she was a long shot, the one horse Tehila, but she wasn't 111 to 1 in the exacta. So that's why the exacta looks like it paid short, because the whole board was out of whack with the wager on the 2 horse.
We will continue to monitor it, but only we're only going to have today to go by anyway for the next 72 hours. Saturday and Sunday already canceled with just an absolutely brutal forecast in store for us.
Listen, we're having a bad winter. We had 4 or 5, I think 5 good winters, relatively good winters and this year we're having a bad winter, and hopefully looking beyond, and I know long range forecasts are kind of laughable, but looking beyond into the middle of next week, it looks like it gets in, mid to upper 30s, more of a February type feel with rain instead of snow, or maybe a mix. And it looks like we stay that way for, middle of next week through the weekend. So I think we should be okay for a 5-day week next week, and we'll see what happens thereafter. But we've been in a brutal cold spell last couple of weeks, and it's part of winter racing. And guess what? And I know I've made this point on your show before. If this same thing happens next year when we're on the synthetic, guess what? We're canceling too. It's not about the track so much as it is about putting humans on horses in temperatures that are sub-freezing temperatures.
Yeah, this is nuts. It just, it's going to relent, but not before Sunday. So, all right,
no.
Let's dive into this card today and get some thoughts. We had Aragona yesterday. We kind of bounced around, and actually, before you look at the card, Dave, I don't know if you were listening yesterday. Some mornings I know you can, but we also kicked off Derby Watch.
We did, and I'm a participant this year on Derby Watch. Not only writing the articles that go with it, but also in the selection process and comment box. So if you want to argue with what was picked, you can include me into those arguments there. But the only thing I would say, I know some people have commented about where some of these Mott horses are that broke their maiden impressively on January 10th. And my retort to that is, it's Bill Mott. He's not going to rush these horses to get to the Kentucky Derby. One of them, thunderously, I don't believe has even worked back yet. Maybe if he did, he worked back today. So those horses would have to go do something again before they're going to get on our list. In fact, I believe we only put in what we call one-hit wonder on the list, and that was Chad Brown horse. His name just flew out of my head. Impressive at Gulfstream, Canaletto. Sorry,
Canaletto.
Flew back in.
Yep.
But like the code is in the Southwest today. Let me see him do it again at a 2-turn race. And, it's Derby Watch. It's not who's the best 3-year-old or the fastest 3-year-old. It's Derby Watch. It's horses you think could make the gate going 1.25 miles on the first Saturday in May. So people need to keep that in mind.
As I said to David, and I'll mention to you, we think back to that, the golden era, the salad days, as it were, where the acrimony was dripping off the page between Priv and Watch.
Well, yeah, I guess maybe in March or April we'll get to that. But the Philiop process, David and I have worked together, but not in something like this. So I don't think it's like that first round, we're feeling each other out kind of thing.
Exactly, but for those that weren't around for that era, when Mike Watchmaker and Jay Privman would alternate, putting in the comments week after week. So they're one would get in, a lot, kind of like a rabbit punch next week. It was mighty entertaining. It's a more genteel Derby Watch these days.
Yeah, well, it's a kinder and gentler Derby Watch for sure.
Make a couple of picks here, Dave. Withers and the like. Start with the Withers because it goes through Chad, but there's some alternates.
Yeah, listen, I was impressed with Otino. The guts he showed when he got confronted by his stablemate Hadrian's Wall, a horse I know Chad does like. Not sure what happened to him after that race. I haven't seen him, but the fact that he's won at the distance, has some speed, which is always a good thing. Look, I got to give him a slight edge. Now, Chad did say in multiple, I've written this advance twice now, even before the weather came in and disrupted everybody's training pattern, he said the horse did miss a little bit of time coming out of that maiden win. So now he was able to get in, I guess, just the one work. So he could be vulnerable, and maybe Schoolyard Superman, who is by practical joke. And then again, this is a 1 1/8 race, and it's not the Derby, so this horse should be able to get 2 turns 1 1/8, and maybe he's the right one here. I didn't think the race. I don't know what to do with Melada. He's coming off 2 wins at Parks, going 7/8. One was a restricted race. One was against 2 other horses. Yes, he won by 19, so he did it the right way. But I guess if he's anywhere near the 6-1 at UC, then I guess you could, maybe take a shot. But nobody else in here really did it for me. I think Todd's in here with grittiness, not because he thinks this is a superstar horse. I just think he thinks the horse wants 2 turns. He was looking to get a horse into a 2-turn maiden race, and they just don't fill. So I'll go with Schoolyard Superman as a choice, just because he'll be maybe a tick higher than Otino.
All right, I get it. How about the Ruthless? Schilling shows up here from McPeak, but Amelia Green, 2 bits. Interstate Love Song from Morley.
Trying to find this race. What race number is that, Steve? Because I don't.
It's the 8th.
Is it the 8th? Oh, I'm sorry. Why is Laurel? Why is it so Laurel? I think. It was a horse I was a little bit interested in here, and I can't find. First of all, scratch Ivy Girl for
right.
Amelia Green. What did I like in here? I guess Interstate Love Song. I think needs to get a little bit faster, but I think can. Schilling did benefit on the redraw toward the outside, and the cutback should help. I mean, he ran into a monster in Zany in the Demoiselle and had Zany breathing down her neck. So, that she backed up going 1 1/8 with getting the pressure that she got from that filly, who I think is going to gallop in the Suncoast tomorrow. No shame in that. But, if the track is favoring in speed, like I thought it was yesterday, inside speed, then if Interstate Love Song breaks, she could be gone. I think she's a little bit faster than Schilling, who probably will stop the pace from that outside post.
The ladies, and the question, of course, the 1 1/8 for Weigh the Risks. That's the one. That's the one referendum.
Yeah, I don't see why it should be a problem for her. She did win 2 turns on grass as a 2-year-old. I understand that until they do it, they haven't done it. But she's every race on dirt has been fine. She did get beat by Bernie Takes Charge, who is back in this race. Wasn't when the race was originally drawn, but it's been postponed for a couple of weeks now, and she's here, and she's coming off a nice New York bred win, and she can't handle the distance. But I don't see why Weigh the Risk shouldn't be able to do it. Maturing 5-year-old by Mendelssohn. It has the potential to me, and you say this, and you get burned, but the stakes races to me look to be extremely chalky to me.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And in fact, on that topic, I actually am going to combine not just the toboggan, but also the first race. And Rich Eng will be on with us at 11:45, but we very well may peek in and take a live race. The Johnny Ortiz and the TriStar team, Team Lestrito, Mo 88 comes back in this allowance against Open Company, and then Doc Sullivan about an hour and a half later in the toboggan. Very big day for TriStar and Johnny.
Look, Mo 88 is probably going to bounce, but she could bounce and still win this race. And they are sort of treating this horse a little bit with kid gloves by coming in here as opposed to running in the stakes race. But I guess you take advantage of the condition that she got. And look, it's an $83,000 purse. The stakes are probably just a tick higher than that. And you get a little more experience on the dirt with the horse, and maybe you get the bounce out of the way in an allowance and then come back in the stakes race, later on, whether it be the Carter or something else. But yeah, I mean, he's going to start off as a short price. Then you go into the second race, the Interborough, which is scratched out to 4. Sultry Lass and Her Laugher out. Good luck beating Lucille Ball, who looks loose on the lead. And then in the 4th, Doc Sullivan, who is in the race as far as I see. So he hasn't scratched, but he's no cinch in here. There's a couple of horses that have run some good races that if they bring those races can beat him. Over and Ollie being one, and Victory Way being another. So I think that Doc Sullivan being in this race might give you a little bit more value on those two horses. Just because, and I think, look, Over and Ollie has kind of dirtied up form, as everyone likes to say, but the two other that he won at Saratoga and the optional claimer, 100-grander he won here, those performances are good enough to beat Doc Sullivan. Now, whether he's able to put two of them back to back remains to be seen. And then Victory Way looked like he got back in his groove, coming off a layoff and a turf race. So I guess just sort of line through that, and has drawn nicely on the outside there in post 6. Obviously, Maximus Meridius is scratched. He ran a dismal 5th on Wednesday at Parks in an allowance race. But yeah, I would tend to try and maybe take a shot against Doc Sullivan, because I'm always a little bit leery when guys alter their plans. This horse was almost on a van to South Florida for the Pegasus, and then he wasn't sure of the spot in the race, so they kept him here. Would have got in if he wanted to, after the fact. Then was going to go to one of these New York bred stakes, and then I guess with this race sort of being delayed a little bit, they came here. So sometimes that doesn't always work out. It sounds like a good idea, but it doesn't always work out. So I'd probably go with I'm going to go with Ricky Dutrow and Over and Ollie to hopefully bounce, repeat that last effort and get the victory.
Fun card that culminates or nearly culminates with the Withers. There is the maiden state-bred group goes as the 11th, and those two races part of the cross country with the action we talked about with Jeff Taylor at Oaklawn. Dave Grenning, your Super Bowl push.
Over. Take the over. I know that everyone's raving about these two defenses. I like the over. I think these teams always seem to have a little trickery up their sleeve, and they score, and then that one D-back is a little bit compromised for Seattle. So I don't know who's going to win the game. I think it'll be closer than people think. I don't know if I trust Sam Darnold in the Super Bowl. I'm sure the Patriots will be hanging ghosts from the goalposts somewhere, saying, "Hey, remember this? Remember us?" But I'm going to go over. And but if they made me pick a team to win, I would. You know what? I'd go Patriots. It just seems like everything sort of. It seems like it's their kind of year. Even though they knocked me out of the survivor pool in week 1 by losing to the Raiders. Oh my God, how did you do that? I think I think they've lost like one game in 3 months, and that was a game. Yeah. And I think they had a 21. Didn't they have a 21-0 lead in that game? So maybe against the Bills. I think the one game they've lost, if I'm not, was they were up 21-0 against Buffalo that game, and that's since like week 3. So I don't know. Vrabel has impressed me as a head coach. Not that McDonald hasn't, but I've been really impressed with what Vrabel's been able to do with a team, young team like this. And I just have a feeling he's going to come up with something that's going to get them past Seattle. But we'll see. But if I am playing, and I'll play the over.
There it is. DRF Grenning, everybody. And remind me, I'll save that. I'll text you that. Dave Grenning, everybody. Thanks, Dave.
Take care. See, happy Super Bowl.
Exactly. Happy Bowl. You're listening to Twin Spires Weekend Preview at the races on Sirius XM. That's our station ID. Second half starts now, and Dave Hill, who is coming to you. We got a lot of far-flung visits today, not just at racetracks, because we are going to go to Radio Row in San Francisco when we talk to Craig Dato later. He and Dr. Chow, Sports Injury Central, they're on the scene. Dave Hill has gone to a far-flung Super Bowl party in the islands.
Well, it's not an island, Costa Rica.
Oh, that's right. That's right. I was thinking. I don't know why I was thinking Dominican Republic, Costa Rica. Excuse me. That's right.
It's a common mistake people make, but yeah, I'm in Costa Rica with all the American expatriated sports book employees down here. So yeah, I wish I could be on Radio Row. I don't have it like that, I guess, but I'll be watching the Super Bowl from the headquarters of one of the world's largest sports books with a bunch of bookmakers Sunday night.
I'm guessing you're there working on your book.
Yeah, this is all for book, trying to get a little bit of scenery for the book. I'm doing some research, interviewing some people, but mainly just trying to chew it all up. Yeah.
Well, and obviously, we've talked about it repeatedly, and I do want to include this week's episode, which got a big reaction actually when I retweeted it. A few different people, including Ray Pollock, who worked with Jimmy the Greek. Ray loved it, and he was unaware of what you were doing. The project I explained to him, and so you may hear from Ray.
That's really cool. I didn't know that about Ray working with him. That's a pretty, it's a small world, I suppose, but thanks for sharing that. It was I'm glad we're going to start a new season, and Peter Richmond was really gracious to get on and talk to me a little bit about Jimmy the Greek. So folks should check that out at my Substack. Also, I have a story out on Rolling Stone this morning about the Super Bowl halftime show and betting on the halftime show this morning, and people can check that out. That was a fun story to work on. I got to dive into the history of the Super Bowl halftime show and learn all about that, and also about, the way that they set had the history of people booking bets on it, and how they set the lines and how the bettors attack it.
Well, and we can utilize that as part of our conversation. And, certainly when it comes to the simple portion of things, meaning the line and the over under, that won't satiate the horse players and the sports bettors, Dave. Everything is open under the sun here on Sunday in terms of props and approaches. And I wouldn't mind you also riffing on that article I sent you from the Atlantic this morning. I sent it to you and Craig and Rich about this being the first year of the prediction markets and their effect on everything, and how that's being folded into the action.
Yeah. Thanks for seeing that article. I mean, there's really been a lot of ink spilled in the last couple of months on prediction markets. I've been fielding a lot of requests to write about them as well. So it's certainly in the zeitgeist, and the sort of American media establishment has discovered them and decided that they want to, know more about them and have people write about them more. But this isn't the first year we've had prediction markets. I mean, honestly, we've had prediction markets accessible to some states all the way back to the beginning of PASPA, places like Sport Trade and others that cropped up over the years. No Vig. We've had Profit X. So there were a lot of companies that tried to create markets, exchanges in lieu of actual, traditional sports books right after PASPA. And there was some debate about, is the exchange model the future of sports betting versus the bookmaker model? And the people who always sort of stood against that idea that this will never take off were people who said, well, the reason exchanges won't work is because you won't ever have anybody to be a market maker. No one's ever going to post up the liquidity for people to take because they'll be too afraid of getting sniped out by sharp bettors. And now what we've seen, the reason we've seen this explosion now because of Kalshi and Polymarket really, deciding that they were going to be first movers and just sort of open up shop nationwide and dare the government to challenge them, is that they realized actually you can make a profit in these, you can find market makers. And in some cases, those market makers in places like Kalshi and Polymarket are organizations like Susquehanna, which is or SIG, which is a major hedge fund. In some cases, the market makers are sharp bettors like Rufus Peabody, who have figured out that they can make even more money rather than betting at sports books by just sort of being the sports book, creating their own line and offering up their own liquidity because they're bankrolled to do it. And so that's helped them flourish in terms of posting up sports markets. And I think the reason, Kalshi has really benefited, for example, from this because they're now taking more action on sports than on any other markets. Traditionally, a lot of these exchanges would offer political prediction markets or things like that, where you're predicting, people were betting on events and sort of the world events and that sort of thing. Now sports is the biggest part of their business. And that's because they have people like Rufus Peabody who will make markets there. But so this isn't new, but it is new in that this has gotten big. It's gotten a lot of attention. They have a lot of new customers at Kalshi who are diving into their markets. But ultimately, the experience for the bettor will be very similar, right? You're basically placing a bet, just sportsbook. The real difference is who's on the other side of your bet.
Well, and we'll see how this all plays out. And next week, undoubtedly, there'll be an absolute ton of conclusions to draw, and there'll be stories. There's also, Dave, we don't have to do it now, but there's also people being limited going into the weekend and so forth. This is such a fast-moving and expansive situation. I mean,
it just gets bigger every year. I mean, betting on sports in America is getting bigger and bigger every year. And so I'm sure, every year has broken the record from the year before at the Super Bowl. I'm sure this will be no different, especially with all the extra money that's being put into these betting exchanges, these prediction markets. The other thing I'll mention about prediction markets that makes them a big deal this year is that for all the states that have not legalized sports betting yet, Texas, Georgia, California, big states that don't have access to sports betting, they do have access to these prediction markets. So it really has opened up, quote unquote, legal sports betting to the entire country. And so we will see that will increase the handle on betting on the Super Bowl this weekend, because not only can you bet on Kalshi, if you have a Robinhood account, you can bet on Kalshi through Robinhood if you pay an extra fee. And I think that's really helped them, juice their stats as well. So yeah, we're going to see some eye-popping numbers when we see how much people bet on the Super Bowl.
Well, then we know that, and now let's tell them what to bet.
Well, everybody that listens to this show, have been listening to me all season, knows that I'm on the Seahawks. I mean,
yes.
I was telling your listeners to bet the Seahawks back in November. I started betting Super Bowl futures on the Seahawks in November when most of the market had them around 5th. Massey Peabody had them 1st. And so Massey Peabody power ratings were out on a limb. They had diverged from the market. And that's always a good situation. That's what I always look for is, when the sort of source of truth that I'm using, the only time that there's really any value in betting it is when it diverges from what everybody else is saying. Sometimes that could be an error, in the model or something, but in this case, it seemed pretty spot on. Last year, the same thing happened with the Ravens. Of course, the Ravens choked in the playoffs, but, November 20th, 21st, I think that was the day after the Seahawks lost to the Rams in that nail biter. And the next morning, Massey Peabody had Seahawks number 1, Rams number 2. Everybody else had Seahawks like around 5th or 6th. That was when I started buying Super Bowl futures at 12-1 on the Seahawks. So I'm pretty well invested now in the Seahawks to win straight up. But then, I also got them at -3.5, which is what the game opened. So I have this at -3.5. The game is now 5, which is kind of wild to me. And I think that's because of rumors about Drake May's health.
Yep.
But it's also because of just, the amount of money that's coming on the Seahawks. Now, what guys down here in Costa Rica are telling me is that the public is overwhelmingly on the Patriots. There's a ton of action coming from the public on the dog here, and that's normal. That makes sense. People would rather take the points. Patriots are a bit like fan favorites, I guess. They have a huge fan base. But I think the Seahawks are the pick, man. I think that they're a full touchdown better than the Patriots. And so I'd still bet them at -5. If you look at the market, you can get -5 plus 103 at some places, which is a lot better than -110. That's almost an even money bet, honestly, in the current market. But you can also find some -4.5s out there too, which is probably a better bet at -110. So, I still like them at that number. I think that this is going to be, in my opinion, a fairly lopsided affair. I could be wrong. There could be injuries, but and I think that for folks who are going to watch the Super Bowl, they don't want to just bet a side. They want to bet props, and we can talk a little bit about props if you'd like.
Yes. Any action on the number?
I did not bet the total. I heard Dave before I came on saying he was betting the over. One thing that sort of a pet peeve of mine is that when people give out a total, you got to give a number because it's moving all the time. And so over what? You know what I mean? Under what? Like, we should be clear about what number we want to bet over or under, because if you're betting over 45, you've got a better bet right now than if you're betting over 45.5 or 46. And you can find all of those numbers right now out in the market. You know, I would, if I was going to bet it, I'd bet the under. Generally speaking, you want to bet unders. The value will be on the unders in a game like the Super Bowl, because there's just too much dumb money out there on all the prop overs, because people typically want to bet on things to happen. It's more fun.
Right.
I'm the same way. I want to bet on something to happen, not something to not happen. So the numbers end up getting skewed in that direction. And so the unders end up being where the value is. So I would probably look at an under if I wanted to play the total. I'm going to play the total.
Fair enough.
I do have some prop bets.
Let's
I
go.
will give a quick plug. If people are interested in props, you should go to Unabated. They have built, as far as I know, the only Super Bowl prop odds screen you can find in the market, and it's completely free. You don't have to subscribe to use it. Just go to unabated.com and scroll down under NFL to Super Bowl, and they have a menu, you know, an odds screen where you can check prices at every sports book that you can imagine on all of the props that they have listed. And I'd say the single sharpest thing that any of you can do is, if you like a number, but you don't have necessarily a model or any sort of algorithmic reason for betting a number, you like the number, at least price shop and bet it at the best price that you can find. You know, and save a little money that way. Be a price sensitive shopper. But if you do that and you like Unabated and it looks like something you want to use, you can use my code HILL, HILL, when you sign up, and I'd appreciate it. I've made a few props. The way that I sort of have this game in my mind is that it's going to be a JSN game. I've been very impressed with Jackson Smith-Njigba the entire season. He just won Offensive Player of the Year. I think that was more than well deserved. The guy's a phenomenon. I think this is his league. We're just sort of finding this out now. So I couldn't say enough positive things about this guy. And I think that, you know, if they put Gonzalez up against him, if the Patriots play Gonzalez against him in man, I think that he'll just feast. You know, Gonzalez is an amazing cornerback, but he's not as fast as JSN. And so I think that if we see the Patriots playing man, then it's just going to be JSN feasting all night. And if that's the case, I like JSN overs. I like JSN to score 2 touchdowns at 550, or I think, I'm not sure what price that's at right now, but maybe it's around 600. I like JSN. I think it'll be a JSN game. It'll be a lot of fun to watch. If they play zone, it'll be a little bit tougher, but you know, it's sort of feast or famine with the Seahawks. You're either going to use JSN as a decoy or you're going to feed him. And they're good at both of those things. And so if this becomes a game where they have to use JSN as a decoy, then I think I start to like things like Rashid Shaheed overs. And, you know, I even like Jake Bobo to get a reception in a situation like that. And I think Jake Bobo over 1.5 receptions is a good bet in those kinds of situations where we're, you know, sort of drawing the defense towards JSN. But I do think that, like, it all revolves around how they decide to play this one big thread. And that's sort of my narrative-based approach to how I'm looking at a lot of these props. The other thing that's interesting is to look at, if you want to look at rushing props, is that Kenneth Walker is a little bit injury prone. He's kind of banged up, and we have lost Charbonnet. So I bet Holani over 10.5 yards at -111. I even bet Rashid Shaheed over 4.5 rushing yards, thinking that there's a scenario here where they, you know, line Shaheed up even and feed him the ball because of maybe a Walker injury, or Walker, you know, sitting on the bench and trading snaps on drives for Holani. So I think there's some value in looking at those numbers as well. But yeah, I've got JSN 2 touchdowns, and I'm going to be sweating that one. That's a pretty big price. And I think the JSN MVP price is interesting. If you have access to MVP bets and you can get, you know, 550 or better on that number, you know, I think that there's a scenario where if he does score 2 touchdowns, that's highly correlated with him getting the MVP nod as well. So that's kind of how I see the game right now.
I was going to ask you about the potential on the MVP, because it's been you know, bandied about. I was going to be curious if you thought that the number, you know, down too low, but that actually was the number that I sort of had in mind as the cutoff point.
I don't think it's too low, because I think the Seahawks win the game. So I discounting Drake. I already think that Drake May Lenny's dead money, and so it's really a question about Darnold or JSN. And like I said, there's two ways this game could go. If the Patriots decide to focus a lot of effort in shutting JSN down, he's not going to win MVP, and Sam Darnold has a better shot at winning MVP there. But if JSN ends up becoming the focal point of the game and he can receive multiple touchdowns, you can see it going the other way. These are qualitative things, these awards. We don't know what's in the mind of people. So a lot of it has to do with kind of how things look. But Sam Darnold just has his haters. He's not a showy quarterback. He's not a guy who's ever really gotten a lot of love. I think he's probably more likely to get the MVP than JSN. But I just think that it's still a bit of an overlay here, given that there is what I think consider to be a very likely scenario where JSN might get the nod. But he has to get in the end zone to get it. Getting over 100 rushing yards over 100 receiving yards is not going to be enough. Getting one touchdown is not going to be enough. He has to get multiple touchdowns. He has to really put on a show out there. But what better place to do it than here? I think this is a guy who is just loaded for bear, is going to make a big, big impact on this league in the next bunch of years. And I think that this is really a coming out party for him. So I can see it happening. I can really see it happening, but it really depends on how much Vrabel and the Patriots defense want to, piss on his parade or not. And so, they kind of hold his fate a little bit. But like I said, everything goes through him. If they're shutting him down, that just means that the Seahawks will still feast. And if they can't figure out how to make their other role players effective in that situation, then the game's going to be tighter. The Seahawks won't cover, and I'll lose all my bets, and that can happen as well. But
exactly.
I think that the table is set for a Seahawks victory here, and they just got to go out there and play the way they've been playing all season long. I mean, week after week. So there's a lot of fun bets out there folks can look at. There's some classics like, will a non-quarterback throw a pass?
Right.
I think that's a fun one, although it gets bet into a price that's no longer any good. But it's one that I think is likely to hit this year for sure. I'm not sure how I'd like it at some of the prices I've seen, but there's a lot of fun stuff out there that people can bet.
Well,
including the halftime show.
Well, I was going to say, I want you to riff quickly on the halftime show that the story you wrote, but there are a couple things that over the years we've talked about, and defensive touchdowns in the Super Bowl are a thing. It's disproportionate.
Yeah, I've got a bet on. I actually do have a small bet on the Seahawks defensive touchdown, and I also have a bet on the Seahawks been scoring the first touchdown, which is likely to happen. But I got I think it's been bet down from where I bet it, but I think I got it at 50-1. Are really impressive and unflappable. I think they're going to be. This is why I maybe like the under in the game. I think these are, like Dave Graining was saying, these are defenses that get a lot of credit and people talk a lot about them. But the Seahawks defense in particular, I think, are really sharp. And I can see Drake May pinned back in his own territory, and that's just pick six territory for Seahawks. So. Yeah, I mean, you want to get big numbers with this stuff, right? You really want to get a big price. A lot of sports books are not going to offer you a fair price on these kinds of things happening. But so again, go to unabated, shop the line, and get the biggest number that you can get. But I don't mind defensive touchdown here, especially with the Seahawks.
Yeah, I would say, since you bet. The
paywall today, you can book it, which is to say mainly based on vibes, and how bettors bet it, which is to say they mainly bet inside information. There's really no other real surefire way to do it. A lot of the bets that are being offered on the halftime show, first song, last song, hair color, will Bad Bunny wear a dress? Will Bad Bunny say something about Trump? There's honestly, this is the biggest show menu in the history of the Super Bowl. There's a ton of stuff that you can bet if you have access to offshore sports books or prediction markets, and a lot of really fun stuff out there to bet on. But traditionally, the way that people have made big scores on this stuff is just inside information.
Exactly. Right. That's the
Yep.
that's the greatest. You could probably stump a certain percentage of the audience by offering a prop. Is Bad Bunny an American?
Yeah, that's true.
The answer is
That's
yes.
true. He's an American export, believe it or not. He's one of the biggest stars in the entire world, and he's an American, which
It's unbelievable.
A lot of people don't realize that Puerto Rico is a part of our country. But yeah,
Exactly.
and I'm down here in Costa Rica, and boy, they love him down here. I'm going to the Super Bowl on Sunday, and I saw the flyer for the Super Bowl party, and the top of the flyer says Bad Bunny. I mean, that's the draw for a lot of these people down here who could who could really care less about American football, but they do want to see Bad Bunny.
Dave, fabulous season. We'll recap next week. Thanks for everything all season long.
Yeah, thank you. I hope folks made some money.
We know they did. Between you and Rich and Craig, I mean, it's been just a banner NFL season for our listeners. So thank you. And obviously we will check in. We'll do some recapping, but we want to keep on tabs with the American Gambler Book Club. The one and only Dave Hill. Thank you, Dave.
Thanks. Have a fun Super Bowl, guys.
You too. Dave Hill, everybody. James Scully listening in and standing by. Then we've got to get to Hammer and to Barry and Nick Tamaro, Craig Dato, and Rich Ang. So a lot to do in the next hour and 5 minutes. James, good morning.
Good morning, Steve. And yeah, I agree with Dave. I like the Seahawks. I made a small bet on JSN at plus 550. Another wager I like is Rashid Shaheed, who they traded for at midseason, and he has just developed a terrific chemistry with Darnold. He's had 2 good playoff games. But here's the thing. He returns punts for the Seahawks. And in 2 of their 3 playoff games, New England against Houston and Denver had 5 punts just in the first half and more in the second. So if Seattle comes out and plays defense, they'll be punting a lot. And if they're trying to double up on JSN and, also pay attention to Coop, he's more than willing to throw the ball. I mean, he had 79 yards or he had 51 yards receiving against in their last playoff game. So that's an anytime score I like for Seattle, Rashid Shaheed.
Nice.
As far as last week, too, I just want to mention I was impressed with Nearly. Todd Pletcher, I don't see any reason why he won't continue to improve upon his Holy Bowl in the Florida Derby and be a serious Derby contender. Pletcher's won 8 of these Florida Derbies, and sure, a few of them have been 2-year-old champs, but he's had a lot of these 3-year-olds, and he's cut out in the mold to me as good as any of them in a sense off of his maiden allowance and Holy Bowl win. Especially considering, also a little bit of a muddled picture right now in February for the Derby. So he looks really good at this point in my eyes.
Excellent. Let's also glance at the platform as well, James. And, yesterday, as it happens, Twin Spires Tournaments was the only place you could play in to the Oaklawn action. Today, it's the $1,000 Oaklawn Southwest Showdown. So if you've worked on this card today, don't be shy about it and get involved. And then tomorrow, of course, the much bigger we got the Oaklawn handicapping challenge. So
Steve, our Darren Zocali and his team, the tournaments have been itching for these tracks to reopen. So yeah, I mean, we've got those major events, but we got a ton of events. We got like 5 or 6 handicapping events going on, over the next couple days. So, check out our tournaments tab at Twin Spires. And then one of our most popular promotions is this $10,000 win ladder where you get paid. You can earn a bonus for cashing, single $10 win tickets on races, and we're going to do that at Tampa and Santa Anita on Saturday, and Oaklawn and Aqueduct today. It's selected races, but it's generally like from race 4 or 5 on all those cards. And the more $10 win tickets you cash from both programs combined, the more money you'll win. So make sure you check out that promo, all our offers at twinspires.com and opt in.
And again, today, the Oaklawn and Aqueduct combo card, which is perfect. And then tomorrow with the Bob Lewis and the Sam Davis. So Santa Anita and Tampa combined tomorrow, both fabulous. So the $20,000 being given away between the 2 days. Very cool. And I did just notice, I didn't see it at my first glance, but there is actually a $700 feeder today into tomorrow's Oaklawn Championship. Now, the Oaklawn Horse Players Championship buy-in is $3,500, but today, utilizing Turfway, $700 buy-in, $350 to the bankroll, $350 prize pool to get into tomorrow's $3,500 Oaklawn Horse Players Championship. So one more chance today to get into tomorrow's big first big contest.
And those all have like seats. We're still coming up on that NHC next month, so I got seats available for that. And of course, the Kentucky Derby betting challenge this spring. And so, make sure you go to the tournaments tab for the details and schedule of all our events going on at twinspires.com.
And as we mentioned last week, the brand new TS Tournaments on Twitter, which is sending out every day, a summary of the opportunities on that afternoon and evening. So be sure to follow there as well. James, dive in. Let's get some action.
I'll throw your stakes. I'll hit the 3 stakes real quick today. Obviously Oddno going to take some beat in there, but I'm going to give the edge to Grittiness. And I'll just say this: I like how he's improved in his last 2 starts and stretching out in distance for Pletcher, running second to Courting. I thought he had a tough trip in the Remsen. Just got shuffled back early after not breaking real well, and had to go extremely wide. And I thought that tracked. I mean, it really slowed down the pace in the Remsen. I thought, it played well. Paladin sat third early. Even Renegade, who didn't get out of the gate real well, was third before the end of the backstretch, and Balboa was up close too. So the top 3 to me were all in position going into the far turn, whereas Grittiness, got the worst of it from off the pace. I thought that was a sneaky 5th, and I'm going to look for him to keep improving for Pletcher today in the Withers.
All right, Grittiness.
In the Martha Washington at Oaklawn and Oaks Prep today, I like Search Party. This is a filly that, didn't show a lot right away in her career, but she was also like not getting out of the gate, Steve, and was like an off the pace type. She really showed improved speed 2 starts back at Churchill Downs, got beat a length and 3/4 to Sticker Shock, who I think is still going to be a nice filly for Brad Cox. Uncle Mo filly hasn't run back since then. The last time out, Search Party just took it to her. I look at these horses like her, and I mean, she has a couple more races, but she's got this same profile as like Super Corridora, who just needed some experience before they put it all together. I thought that was a brilliant win last out, and I like her chances with Christian Torres in the Martha Washington.
All right.
And then in the Southwest, that's a tough race. I think Butane, after a trip in just not getting out well in the San Vicente, is going to be hustling. I'm not sold on Decode, but I'm going to give the edge to Silent Tactic. I really liked how well he ran in that Smarty Jones, considering the walking pace. Typically you see horses when they go almost 115 for 3/4 that are like back in like at the back of the pack. They don't come running late and earn a 3-digit late pace number like Silent Tactic did. He got a 103 late pace number, and he had trouble on the backstretch that shuffled him back during the race. So it was a massive effort. You can look at this work tab on January 21st. Both he and Strategic Risk both worked 5 furlongs, and he worked like a second faster than his stablemate, or almost a second faster. So I think he's going to run better in his second dirt start. The race should set up well for him. Soldier and Diplomat, Liberty National, all, to me are a little intriguing, as well as Rancho Santa Fe, who I think will be more forward after that trip last time. But I do like Silent Tactics, so I'm giving him the edge in the Southwest.
Well, you, me, and Jeff Taylor so far today, all aboard.
So there goes. Yeah, I mean, all those odds are askew because Litmus test is coming out. But, yeah, he's going to take some money for sure.
All right. Next.
And then at Tampa tomorrow, in the Suncoast Stakes, I just want to say I'm super thrilled to see Zany come back. I thought she was just fantastic. I mean, she looks like a possible beast. I thought, the two other main dirt horses last year, and Super Corridor and Explorer, they weren't Triple Crown nominated, but Zany was. And I think it'll be interesting if she comes back and, looks as impressive as she did in the Demoiselle, what they do next with her. In race number 6 tomorrow at Tampa, I do like the horse in there, Silver Slugger, number 6. I thought that I'm not buying his morning line at, race number 6. I'm willing to take, do I have this right?
No.
Tampa? Don't do it.
It's not the 6.
No, race number 8. I'm sorry. Race number 8 at Tampa Bay tomorrow. It's an entry-level allowance. I like number 1, Life is Precious, for Gerald Bennett. This is a horse that ran well at Tampa last year. Sort of didn't show much in August and an October start at Gulfstream, but Bennett has got her back on track. Big numbers in those last 2 efforts, and I think like the 2 favorites on the morning line, the 6 and 7, Roar of the Beast and Big Paradise, she can beat them. So I like Life is Precious at 9-2, Steve.
The 1 in the 8th, all right?
And then in the Pelican, I do like Silver Slugger. I don't know about this 4-1 morning line, but this is a horse that, he's a 2-time stakes winner. Went 8 for 9 at Tampa. I tried to take on White Barrio, who I think is the biggest horse for the course out there in the Pegasus, and he ran great. And I look at this Silver Slugger. I mean, it's our horse around that likes Tampa better than him. So I thought I'd mention him in the Pelican. And in the Sam Davis, I'm going to take a shot with the Puma. This is a colt that was bet down 2-1 favorite in that January 10th maiden race. And I know he got away last. I mean, he broke like flat-footed. And Castellano sort of knifed through some traffic to get up in contention, but he put him out like 5 wide on the backstretch, and he continued to travel extremely wide on the far turn. He sort of just took over the lead before the end of the bend, and Chief Wallaby just had a perfect trip and sort of slunk shot by him. And once he did, it looked like he was going to win by 3, 4, 5 lengths, and the Puma battled back. I love the courage he showed in that stretch drive. He was coming back on him, and it's like 10 lengths back to the rest of the field. The Delgado's worked him twice, including a 6 furlong drill. I don't think Confessional is a need to lead type. I think the Puma, if he breaks, he's going right to the lead, and I like him to lead all the way in the Sam F. Davis.
We didn't have the morning line yesterday when this race was discussed, and he ends up 6-1, which is plenty attractive. And I'm inclined to be of that same mind, James. I think he's the fun alternative.
Yeah, I think that the Bayaco is a fascinating race. Sister Troyenne she is just so good, Steve, right now, and she's just so fabulous on the turf. Her race last week I thought was awesome. But there's a filly that's already won a Polytrack Tapeta Stakes by Open Lens, and she ran I thought well in her debut on dirt to Paving, who was just super sharp that day. Dirt's always going to be an option for her, to me. She sort of looks like a versatile type, and it's the same sort of thing with Nitrogen, where turf's always going to be an option for her. So I am really intrigued by that Bayacoa because, Quiet Side ran the best races of her career at Oaklawn Park last year. She has like a prep in December for this comebacker, so that should be a fascinating race.
All right.
And then I got a last second Friday push for you at Oaklawn in race 7 today. I told you I didn't think that maiden race at Decode 1 was very good, and I thought Silver Prince was second just because somebody had to be second, and he is listed as even money in race 7, and I am just point blank taking him on today. I like number 7, Just JoJo. That horse that beat him, Reclamation. He's in the Southwest. And he just he missed the second by about a neck, Just JoJo, and he just didn't get away good. McLean Robertson gave him that first race. He's a Constitution colt out of a broken bow mare. Brought him back last time. I think he's going to improve off that effort stretching out, and I like number 7, Just JoJo, in race 7 at Oaklawn today.
Very nice. And the 7th, important for anybody playing the middle, pick 5, pick 4. It also starts the Classics 6. And the 7 horse here, 6-1, Just JoJo, Carmona for Mac Robertson. James.
See you at Fairgrounds next week, Steve.
I will. Yeah, we'll see you. We will see you in New Orleans.
All right. You have a great weekend.
You too. James Scully, everybody. James_Scully 111, but much more prominent at twinspires.com and at Brisnet. Hammer standing by. Good morning.
Good morning to you, Steve. As it's Super Bowl Friday for everybody and a big weekend. I still don't understand why we don't have Super Bowl Monday as a national holiday, but maybe one day.
It's been kicked around. Since you started there and mentioned that, let's get your Sunday push.
Yeah, well, as soon as we get off here, we're heading up to Super Bowl country.
Nice.
So we're driving this time because I couldn't figure out why the flights were so high like 6 months ago to get up to, Oakland, where we go every year. And lo and behold, there's a Super Bowl in town. So we're going to drive. And actually, I should say in town, Santa Clara, where the stadium is farther from San Francisco than the Giant Stadium is from New York City. It's not even close. So it's got to be 30, 40 miles south of San Francisco. But that whole area embraces the Super Bowl. In fact, the last time they had a Super Bowl there early when they opened in 2016, and I had to look it up this morning because I was at the first Super Bowl they had up in the Bay Area in 1985. It was Dan Marino and Joe Montana, and it was at Stanford University. They played it for, I don't know why they picked that, but anyway, big game, and the 49ers blew them out. That was during their big run. So a lot of football country up there. So I'm not going to the game, but we're going, might as well be, where I'm headed to my normal Super Bowl party fest. And I got a dilemma on the game. I had forgotten that we were in Arizona. On the way to the airport, I stopped off at the casino, made a little wager on the Patriots, and led 11-1. And I found the ticket about 2 weeks ago, less than 2 weeks ago after the games. And I do think Seattle is going to win handily, but now I'm like, So I'm going to I don't want to go against that. So I'm going to probably play the under, just because I heard Dave on there that, everybody jumps on the over, but I think the under. I think these quarterbacks are going to be a little nervous. I think it's going to start out a little slow. I think it's going to take a while to get things in order. And 45.5 is the number that I ended up on. So that's what I'll be rooting for. And I'm sure I'll do a couple of props, but like Brad said something this morning, I thought this line was going to open at 6-ish or something, and then opened at 3.5. And then, so something in there. Look, New England is 17-3. You don't get there by, I know they played some easy teams, and the fact that they didn't play their best in the 3 playoff games, but still won. You can take that as a negative, or you can take it as a team that, is a winner. So I have something to root for. So I'm going to be rooting for a low-scoring Patriot victory. How's that? Even though I don't think it's going to happen, but we're going there. That's what we're doing.
There you go. All right.
It's kind of wild. I'd forgotten all about that ticket. So, hey, go with the early thought. So I'm fine rooting for New England. You know what that means? I can probably yell. I'll probably be in the minority, which means I can yell louder. That's all that means.
All right. Best of luck. Let's get into the action. You mentioned Brad. It's a nice couple of days, actually. 3 days here at Santa Anita, and tomorrow's card quite good. I already went over the carryovers on the Sunset Six and the Pick Six at Santa Anita.
Did you mention the free PPs today offered?
I did not see the free PP offer.
So Santa Anita and Forum have gotten together for today's card at Santa Anita, which there is that $52,000 carryover on track, and then the $43,000 carryover connected with Gulfstream. I'm going to give you the site. I'll read it off, and then I'll go a little slower. But it's promos.drf.com/Santa Anita 25. Okay, I'm going to read that a little slower now. And I did check it out. It does work. So promos, PROMOS.drf.com/Santa Anita 25. So just go there right now, whatever. You can download the PPs for free for today's Friday card. So not a bad move to do that on a big carryover day. So maybe that'll catch on. So
well,
and
in the upper left-hand corner, underneath the DRF masthead, right underneath there is the free PPs link.
Okay, good. So you don't have to memorize that when we just nod off. But I think that's a good deal, and that's something that, like I said, maybe we'll catch on at other places on big days, and let's let the people get involved at a free cost. And also on Fridays, it's free admission at Santa Anita, free parking, and I guess they got happy hour. They know they do. They have happy hour all day on Friday. So, without rubbing it in, the weather here is going to be fine. I know it's just been terrible for you guys in the Northeast there. Not just the cold, but the length of it. And so I was wondering about that fisherman, how he was hanging out on the lake the other day, and hopefully, at least we know one thing: the ice didn't get thin.
No, to say the least.
But you mentioned, and it's also Derby time, and with that, the run the Lewis here, and I was looking at the first Derby watch they have. So there's 20 horses listed. 6 of them are running this weekend. So keep an eye on. I'm lucky enough to have 3 of my early bird horses in there, and one of them is Desert Gate, who I thought, I've got a decent price on. I think he closed at 58-1 in the last future book. So I'm taking a look at him. He hasn't raced since in October, and he's the early morning line favorite in the Lewis. And he looks like he probably should be. But, I heard you mention the Yachteen horse last week or 2 weeks ago when we were talking about futures. And I went back and watched the film on him, and I was talking to Brian Beach, who's Kimura's agent, the other night, and they're real high on him, obviously. And I'm anxious to see him try 2 turns, right? Yeah,
it should be fine.
I think it'd be fine too, and I think it was a very good selection at a good number there. But these things got to get going, and I'm anxious to see Desert Gate and see what he was up to in the Lewis. You mentioned the race, the Sweet Life, the race following.
Yeah.
That the last race of the day, which ends a bunch of stuff, including the $5 pick, the $5 double that you mentioned. Now, Sweet Life was named after a mare, Life is Sweet, who who produced Sweet Life is the mare. Life is Sweet, who she produced, as well as Catamine, 2 Breeders' Cup winners. So that's where that name came from way back. But once again, love those down the hills. Love those horses turning back. And, you know, the 1 and the 2, Hyper Grammy and La Ville Lemur, both fit that. They're big prices on the line. The one's 8-1. The first one's 10-1, and the McCarthy horse is 2-1. You know, we love those kind of horses. Spafford, who has dipped into the turf a little bit lately. Well, he won a race last weekend, I believe it was, with a Time Surfer. And here's Himika. You know, not good enough. We're just going to switch service. Be tough in there. But if you're looking for a to latch on to, the 1 and the 2, you know, it's the same way. I don't see a total sex.
I thought it was terrific, and Brad and I, you know, kicked around, you know, interesting options. Really good.
I don't know else you want to go to Saturday. At Saturday is a couple other races on Saturday. The Thunder Road, small field. Last year's winner, El Potente, is in there. Will be tough to bet. John Sadler. I know they expected a lot more from him. They first started of his career in the U.S. was at Kentucky Downs and ran a good race, and he's run well, 3/3, but he's ready to maybe out, and this could be the spot. The Wayne Lucas, which was aptly named, it used to be the Santa Monica, and he had won this race 6 times. Last of them being in 1996 with Serena Song, so aptly named. And wouldn't you know it, there's a horse in here, Lemon Muffin, who used to be trained by Wayne. So pretty wild there. But obviously Splendor, the Breeders' Cup Billion Mare Sprint winner, is in here. I don't know. She's going to be tough to beat, but you know, a nemesis who's now becoming maybe a possible nemesis for Baffert on some of these dirt races. Mark Glatt has a lightly raced mare on the outside out of Bicoma. Mike Smith aboard. Formula Rosa could be the challenger, but all eyes will be on Splendor in that event. But some good racing coming up here. There, you got the Sam Davis. You got they're actually running the Withers, right? Is that today?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the Withers goes, the Sam Davis goes, the Southwest goes. So we're getting into, you know, Derby country, and it's starting to turn it up a notch. And once the weather clears back there, we'll be in full gear and starting to get a little excited.
Oh, for sure. They're excited now. Plenty to be excited about. All right. Hammer, anything else?
Yeah, I think that's it. You know, just I was going to say we are GDTRFB. Going down the road feeling bad here. So nice little road trip coming up ahead, and looking forward, and enjoy the Super Bowl, everybody. Get somewhere and have some fun.
Hammer, enjoy. Safe travels up there. I've been watching this stuff, and we're going to talk to, you know, Dato is on Radio Row. We're going to talk to him in 10 minutes. So
good. Well, we'll get him, and Dato's a big an ex Bay Area denizen, as I was. I actually had to look back and see. When I was using football as dates to see when I actually lived there back in the 80s, and you know, with Dwight Clark got a touchdown. I was working there then, and that was 82, I think. So I keep going back. I was there for about 7 years, and little hazy some of that time. So I have to using sports as a guide to see when I was actually there. Pretty funny, but enjoy the game. It's going to be a good one, I think.
Have fun. No, it should be great. Should be a great weekend. Rick Hammerly, everybody, away they go on your Twitter machine. Barry Spears, Urban Handicapper, standing by, and we talked Tampa last week. Some good action again this week. Stuff. Well, even like this week, even down there. You got
No, I've had enough of this winter. I didn't even know what winter was here.
That's a good point, right? Yeah, the action heats up at Tampa toward the Tampa. They've been churning out nice action week after week at Tampa.
This late sequence is pretty tough. You know, in the card, I'd say that there's a couple of horses you probably be able to get around as far as favorites. So if you're playing like the pick 5, early pick 4, you probably have to spend up and try to go real skinny. You know, obviously was beaten by Nearly last time on the Holy Bull, pretty impressively, I might add. Never looked like a loser either. I think he was definitely the best of that group, and it showed. I think Confessional could have that kind of upside. Stretching out makes a lot of sense. The rail draw is actually kind of interesting because I think that forces them to kind of do what they've been doing and not kind of alter from that. So I think they're going to be a real solid top choice for me. A horse that's really interesting, though, at a price is the 2, Epic Desire. You know, Fletcher was trying to get this horse on the grass, and once he did, the horse kind of disappointed. But I do like the fact that they went long twice with this horse on the grass, then laid the horse off from October to January. And the horse, and in particular, they started out at Tampa. So this horse ran at Tampa already with Lasix on for the first time. One going away, looked pretty good. I mean, this race is competitive, but I would not discount this horse, especially getting Sammy Camacho, kind of a home team sort of play, and will probably be a good price because I think these races end up getting a little bit hot up front, and that certainly might be the case with the Puma in here, who will most likely try to, you know, just burn out front. Dr. Kapoor has a lot of speed. So there's some scenarios of this race where Epic Desire gets a really, really good trip. And, you know, I can put that one behind Confessional and be happy.
All right. That's a nice approach.
I mean,
all right.
You know, who else is there? Other than Renegade, it's okay.
Well, there's the Puma. I mean, the Puma, assuming the Puma, who knows what you got here? This is the opportunity to get him at a price.
Yeah, he's going to be a decent price. I don't know. It seems to me, I don't know. I just have this idea that the Puma might not want to go long. But we'll see. That's why they run these races, though.
The potential quality out of a Declaration of War mare, and coming off what? You had that three-quarter work on the 31st. How about the 50?
Yeah, he looks good. How about on paper, he looks good.
No, I'm just interested. You got the Mage team here, and there's some things to intrigue for sure. So, all right. Sure. Back it up to the. We just had a vote for Silver Slugger from James.
Yeah, you know, this pace scenario in here looks to be kind of quick, and that is very adverse to Silver Slugger unless he can get a clear lead, and I don't really think he can. There's some other quick horses, even the horse outside of him, B Colt, is pretty quick. The outside horse, Naughty Rascal, is going to be pushing the pace. So I think it opens it up a little bit. Horses like the 2, Principito, definitely come to mind. This horse finished behind Silver Slugger last time and kind of got a wide trip. You know, I'd like to give that one a shot at 15-1. I might spread here in multis and use the 4 wound up, who looks pretty good, also pretty versatile as well. You know, came from off the pace at Churchill and was sort of on the lead, back at Santa Anita and seems to have improved. So I want to see this horse in this kind of race where they might be able to get a nice pocket trip and score. But my only reservation is the price. I don't think they're going to be too far off that 4-1. But that's not too bad in a race like this. And Chrome Ghost is also another one that I think is interesting, who definitely likes the surface there at Tampa. 4 for 7 with 2 runner-up finishes, second and third. So that tends to go a long way in these kind of races. Horses like that end up showing up in the number somewhere. This race kind of seems a little bit inscrutable. I mean, all these horses sort of look the same. I don't gather we're going to get a really heavy favorite in here. I would think somewhere around 5-2, Silver Slugger might be. And you kind of have to take your shot there, I think.
All right. No argument from me. Keep moving backwards through this pick 5. You got this maiden group of 3-year-old fillies where Chad shows up with Libero and with Tax Holiday.
Yeah, this is a tough race. I mean, you know, going through the pedigrees, there really weren't any siblings of note that really kind of stood out. But I think you can get a price here if you get away from the Chad Browns and the Pletcher in here. The 3, Chat-A-Lot, is kind of interesting. Moving Barnes from Miguel Clement to Kerry Raven. This horse ran pretty good last time, going 5, and stretches out, gets a weight break with the apprentice rider. I think they might project to get a good trip. Whether they can win or not is another story, but the price is certainly going to be right. I wouldn't discount this horse in the money at a decent price. On the stretch out, Warfront, Mission, this horse seems like they would be better stretching that horse out. 6, Coco Motion, is another one that kind of caught my eye. For this one, the Icon Racing people have been okay, pretty good actually, I should say, with picking out turf horses. This one doesn't seem too bad. I would give this one a shot. A nice workout there at Payson on the 26th. Could be a tightener, but for a barn that doesn't really fire first time out, but this race is to be betting any favor. Another one that might kind of surprise horse, but the 11 Rejuvenator, Grand Motion. Horse didn't really run bad, didn't really any running in that race in December. Motion's second time out. This horse is getting Lasix, which is a good angle for him. And he's getting Charlie Marquez, who I think is probably one of the better turf riders at that track right now. When he's healthy and he's out there, he can ride. Might get a price because of the post position, but I think this horse might stand a chance for a barn that's going pretty well. Grand Motion is doing all right now.
Well, about half the field are firsters too, and that includes one from Will Walden. Nessia is 15-1. There is a lot going on in there. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Grab the start of the pick 4, that 8th race, and then I've got to get to Craig.
Yeah, I got Life is Precious, looks pretty good. Should get a nice trip.
James.
Considering there's some speed up front. Warrior's Pride will probably be fresh and out on the lead, winging it. Roar the Beast, who I don't particularly like in this spot at all. Should be up on the engine. Big Paradise, who's another one that doesn't like to finish races off. They'll be out there, and the 8 horse obviously has a lot of zip too. Life is Precious might fall into a nice trip. I'm thinking Danny's going to try to get off the rail a little bit here, so he doesn't have those slow horses backing up into him, and he can go over and get first jump. The other one is the 4 Nishumi that doesn't look too bad. Another one with some punch. Drop the Sunshine Sprint there over at Gulfstream. Might be okay for Laura Cazares in this spot.
And start the pick 5 with that 7th, second level allowance.
Oof, it's brutal. This is a tough sequence. And again, I'm trying to fade some favorites here because I think the first part of the card is going to be more lopsided. So Minty kind of seems like a horse that could do something. You got to get your price on that horse, though. His lone turf effort was pretty good at Gulfstream at the breaking the maiden. Beat Ribbons that day, who's okay, and would be okay in this spot. The other horse that I might give a shot to, same sort of deal, should get a nice trip. Dropped into this level 3 back. This is at Tampa. One was out wide. The one after that on December 20th was a lot better. Should get a better trip this time, not being out so wide. And I'll give that one a shot at a decent price, 10-1 morning line.
A tough sequence, and 11 by 11 by 12 by 9 by 9. Yeah, this will be a challenge. Barry,
Easy.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
How about your Super Bowl? Yeah,
Seahawks.
your Hawks. You're on the Hawks?
Yep, on the Hawks. And for the people who want to bet the halftime show, I'm going with the song Chambea to be the first one.
Chambea first? Not not La Mudanza?
Nope. We're going
All
with Chambea. We're gonna go somewhere else with it.
All right. Well, depending on who you're looking at, you may have to take the field. I know there's some specifics, and then the field is a field bet too.
Take a look. But if I can get a specific one, I'm taking that one. But
all right,
it should be a good game. Can't wait.
Urban handicapper, everybody, the one and only Barry Spears. Thanks, Barry.
All right, thanks, Steve.
Let's go out to Santa Clara and joined by Craig Dato, who's on Radio Row. He and Dr. Chow and Sports Injury Central, who have enjoyed just a spectacular season. Craig, good morning.
Good morning. I love to hear two white guys betting on the halftime Spanish songs. Who's going to play first? That just warms my heart.
I didn't ask Hammer. I didn't think Hammer would
right.
necessarily have a push on that front.
So it's really funny. So I've been here all week, and press conferences for this, that, and the other thing. And with all the people who are going to complain at halftime, like, what the hell is this show? He's not speaking English, blah, blah, blah. By far, times 10, the most attended press conference was the Bad Bunny press conference here this week.
Listen, he's an international sensation.
Yep.
Well, and
right,
sports, so Sports Injury Central is an international sensation.
How about that, huh? Yeah, I was right in the middle of it. That was very surreal.
I love it.
Yeah.
How are we approaching this?
Well, okay, here's the deal. So on a regular week, there might be, depending on buys, 14, 15, 16 games. And we would typically have, 3 or 4 really strong plays. And it's just based on the numbers. We only play where there's an advantage. Well, I'm sad to report there's no advantage in this game. But we have to have an opinion, right? You can't pass on the Super Bowl. You have to have an opinion. So therefore, I'm going to roll up my sleeves and just know going in, this would never be a play if this was a regular game on week 6 or something. This would never rise to that level. However, we have to, right? So here we go. Let's break down the injuries. On the New England side of the ball, you've got 2 linebackers who got injured in the AFC Championship game, Robert Spillane and Harold Landry. We expect them both to play. Neither are going to be 100%, but with the adrenaline and whatever it takes, we think they're going to be okay. The other big injury on the New England side, of course, is Drake May. Dr. Chow broke this injury right after the AFC game, right after the AFC Championship, saying that he did injure his throwing shoulder. And although we took a lot of grief from all the fans in New England, quack doctor doesn't know what he's talking about, blah, blah, blah. Well, guess what? On the first injury report, it came out that he's got a shoulder. Doc saw it. Sorry, but that's the reality. Now, Doc has since watched him practice this week and says, with injections or whatever they're going to do, he will be fine. We do not see the Drake May shoulder as a big deal. It's something he's hurt but not injured. He'll be all right. Okay. If you look at the Seattle side of the ball, that's where all of a sudden we have a little bit of concern here. The offensive tackle, Charles Gross, he's going to be fine. We've got him at a 96 score. But their star safety, Nick, and I want to make sure I pronounce this right, Emanwori, is a real concern. He hurt his ankle in practice a couple of days ago. This guy is a superstar, and he is a Swiss Army knife. He does everything for Seattle, relies on his speed quite a bit. With an ankle injury, we are really concerned about him. So that is probably the biggest injury concern we have is the Seattle safety. So those are the injuries. Now let's break it down. I'm trying to find a pick for you here, Steve. By most accounts, when you go to look at team ratings, whether it be Sagarin or whatever it is, most people believe Seattle is approximately a 2-point better team on a neutral field, all things being equal. Okay, that's fine. If you then modify that number by their injuries, the injury scores are identical. Seattle's an 88.6 and New England's an 88.8. I got nothing there. I mean, you've heard me, you've seen games this week where there's a 10-point, 15-point difference. This is 0.2. There's nothing there. So at the end of the day, when we, make our own lines, essentially, we see New England, or we see Seattle being the better team by about 1.6. The line's 4.5. My heart, my brain, everything I see says Seattle. But I learned a long time ago that my gut is about 48% winners. And when I go with the system, we win at about 58%. The system is leaning New England. So there you have it. Do I like it? I don't think so, but that's what the numbers are saying.
Interesting. All right.
And
any feel on the total?
Yeah, we think both defenses are better than both offenses. We think New England's defense is underrated. So we see this being a ball control, low-scoring game. I can't pay that off on injuries for you. I can't tell you that the defenses are healthier than the offenses. It's just not true. But it's so close. I don't know. So I've got nothing on numbers, totals on the total side. But it goes with the narrative of New England covering that it would be a low-scoring game. So if you put a gun to my head, Steve, which I think you are, saying you got to make a play for the Super Bowl, I got to lean New England and I got to lean unders, but I don't love it.
If there was with that interesting safety news, is there a Patriot receiver that stands to benefit?
Well, Patriot receiver is, pick your poison, right? Which one do you go with? I'd be totally guessing if I gave you something with any conviction here. Are they going to throw to Diggs, Douglas? Are they going to throw to Boutte? I can tell you. That's a game plan decision, right? So I don't know, but I think there potentially could be an overplay for props there. I just don't know which guy they're going to go to.
How about something like a longest? What's the over under on? I got so many screens here. What's the
longest passing
longest
play.
reception?
That might make some sense. But this safety is. I don't want you to think this safety is just a cover safety. This guy makes a lot of tackles too. He comes up and stops the run as well. Like I said, he is a Swiss Army knife. He does everything. So if he's not 100%, that's really going to hurt Seattle.
All right. Well, listen, everybody made hay all season long, so we're not going to, we don't have to go.
I don't want to force
exactly.
it, right? For the sake of forcing.
100%. There's no need to force it. We should then, and we'll do a recap next week. As I said with Dave and Rich Ang is going to join us next. But one final offer for listeners.
Absolutely. We're going to come up with a prop here. We've been talking about it all week. We're going to have one more meeting tonight, and we're going to come up with something that we're going to make our guaranteed pick. So if you go ahead and sign up for the week, $50, put BIC as the promo code. If we don't hit our guaranteed pick, we will refund as we've done all season. But damn, we've been hot on our guaranteed picks all season. I think we're like close to 80% on those. So don't expect to get your money back. But if we fail you, we will give it back.
Well, and of course, you guys are not limited to football. You're doing the injury central insights in multiple areas. So
we are. So we've really developed. I mean, we're best in football. We stand behind that. But our basketball model is pretty darn good too. We were winning over 55% last season, and so feel free to come to us for basketball picks. And we will do a very, very thorough job on March Madness, as we always do. And let me tell you, it's hard for us to track down the injuries for all these 68 schools, whatever, but they don't affect the line much. So when we find them, they're nuggets.
Oh, nice.
The starting guard for, whoever is out, the line doesn't necessarily move like it should. So there are some nuggets in there. We put our staff on a full court press, no pun intended, for all the teams. And we do come up with some March Madness plays. So check us out for that. We do a great job there. And right now we're recovering all of our depth charts with all the trades that went down the last couple of days. Jesus, what team is that guy on now? Oh my God, we got to move it over here. We got to move it over there. So give us a couple of days to sort through all these trades, and then our NBA will be back up and strong again.
Excellent. Well, Craig, we'll talk, and because you foreshadowed March Madness, we'll get you in for those weeks. And of course, that's a big strength of Rich Eng's as well. So we will talk more. And thanks for a fabulous season week to week.
Thank you so much for a great season. And by the way, are you going to be at Ocala this year for the 2-year-old sale?
Yes.
I thought I saw you there last year. I will be there, so maybe I'll swing by and
100%.
Maybe see you there.
Outstanding. And do you come over? Do you swing over to Vegas for the NHC?
I mean, I used to back in the day, but I haven't in a while. But it is so convenient. Who knows? When is that, by the way?
It's that middle March weekend, right after OBS.
Got it. Okay, well, who knows? That could be a possibility. But again, thank you for a great season. Appreciate all your support. And why don't we make a plan to get together in Florida for Ocala? And I'd love to jump on the air with you then.
You got it. And we'll talk before that,
all
including a recap of Super Bowl next week.
Great. Sounds good.
Craig Dato, everybody, and Sports Injury Central Score, SIC Score.com, and at Twitter, and Dr. Chow. We didn't talk to Dr. Chow this year, but you see him on the feed and the halftime shows, and they've had a phenomenal year, as has Rich Eng. Rich Eng for Pro Pick joins us now. Richie.
Good morning, Steve.
Good morning. You ready for this extravaganza Sunday?
Yeah. It's the storm. Most of the money gets bet on Saturday and Sunday. And while some of the reports that Las Vegas is a little bit slow, considering it's midweek, but we still expect a lot of people to come in for the Super Bowl tonight and tomorrow, and then Sunday we'll all feast on football.
Well, and it's a giant, all the giant rooms. They host fabulous parties. It's a betting frenzy. Let's be honest. There's no end of concepts. How are you going to approach overview of this going in?
Well, obviously, I've had a good run on at the races with you in my football picks, and during the playoffs of the last 2 weekends, conference championships and the playoffs before that, I went 2-0 and 2-0. So no surprise with the teams that have made the championship game, Patriots and Seattle. The first opening line on Seattle was 3.5. That got gobbled up pretty fast by the experts and some big bettors, got driven up to 4.5 where it's been sitting. There are some 5s out there. And on the total side, it opened up at 46.5. That got bet down, right down to 45.5. So it'll be interesting to see if it actually goes down to 45, maybe even 44.5. seems to be a lot more talk about under than over on the total. But from the people I respect and follow and listen to, there seems to be a preponderance of Seattle interest versus Patriots. In the Super Bowl, this is Super Bowl 60, Steve. One thing that people like to do when they bet the underdog in the Super Bowl is sometimes they just bypass the plus points and just bet the underdog on the money line. And the Patriots are right around, I guess, about plus 190 on the money line.
Wow. Huh.
Pack and
talk individual props and that approach. So your final take on side and total.
I do like Seattle also. I did bet the 4.5. So and I laddered them a little bit to -7 and -10.
Nice.
So if they do win by bigger numbers, I'll get plus money there. And I did bet the total under 46.5. I snuck that in early. So I got a point advantage there. But at this point, looking at the game scenario, my thoughts, my best results would be Seattle and a low-scoring game under 46.5.
Very good. All right. So you're well positioned on that front. Propositions, Rich. There's especially this year. I had a little bit of an aside with Dave Hill earlier about the predictive markets and what going to this the hype on this. Even though the game is lacking a superstar. Actually, let's be honest. And in fact, Johnny D yesterday said to me, I guess he saw an article too that approached it and said, this is really the first Super Bowl in memory where there's not a superstar, a Brady, a Mahomes, etc. Last year, Barkley, the Hurts, and A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, etc. When it comes to the props, what's your typical interest, and how do you approach them, and how do you suggest players go at it this year?
Well, I've got a half a dozen props in my pocket, and I heard you talking about quarterbacks and the Johnny D and mentioning those superstar quarterbacks. I would kind of compare this quarterback tandem to going back many, many years when the Ravens had Trent Dilfer and the New York Giants had Kerry Collins. You talk about two kind of nondescript quarterbacks. You remember Kerry Collins had kind of kicked around from a few football teams and ended up having a career year with the Giants. And Trent Dilfer was the ultimate game manager for that outstanding Ravens defense. But that was a Super Bowl where the two quarterbacks were kind of, average to nondescript. But at least for Drake May, he's only in his second year. His ceiling is still pretty high. And the Sam Darnold career year. So good luck to him, the former New York Jets quarterback. I do have a half a dozen prop bets in my pocket. I'd be more than happy to share them with you because I've already bet them, and I don't expect much change in the numbers other than maybe the juice might change just a little bit. But the first prop that I bet was number of field goals, and I bet over 3.5. That's the resounding number at most of the books, 3.5. I think there's going to be 4 or more. My thought process is the fact that both coaches, McDonald and the Patriots coach,
Vrabel.
I forget his name right now. Vrabel. Yeah, they're both pretty conservative, and I think in a championship moment, they're not going to pull a Sean Payton and bypass the chip shot field goal. I think they're going to think, take the points. That's what Bill Parcells used to play his Super Bowls. Take the points. Nothing wrong with picking up 3. And even though some look at it as if you get 3 and you bypass a 4th and short, the chance to score a touchdown, you're leaving 4 points on the table. Well, you gather enough 3s, 2 3s equal 6. So I bet over 3.5 that both coaches will kick the field goals and maybe bypass a couple of 4th and 1s, 4th and 2s, and take the points. That's my first prop. My second prop is Drake May. I know has had some impressive games running the football, and I like Denver in the championship game for the AFC. Fortunately, I had plus points, so I was able to sneak in even though they lost. But I was really sure defense did not have a eye on Drake May, especially after the game he had played the week before against the Texans. Drake May did not hesitate to go out and run in the open field. And if the defenses are starting man-to-man defense, the defensive backs, their back is to the quarterback in the line of scrimmage because they're facing the receivers around, open up some huge running lanes for May. I really think Seattle with McDonald's going to be a lot more clever as far as maybe putting a spy on May, maybe even playing a little more zone. The defensive backs will be looking toward the line of scrimmage. But I bet under 38.5 for Drake May yardage running the football.
Interesting.
And that's one I really like. I think for certain they're going to spy May and try to keep his run short if he does escape the pocket. Here's kind of a sleeper one. Seattle, of course, lost Charbonnet, the part of the running back tandem, a couple of weeks ago. He's out for the season, and they relied on Kevin Walker, and he ran the ball 19 times in the NFC Championship game. The backup, George Holani, ran the ball 3 times. But I really think that with the emphasis that Seattle's going to put on running the football, that Holani, the backup quarterback, or backup running back, he's listed for 2.5 attempts. I bet over. I really think he's going to have a chance to run the ball 3 times or more, that they actually will use him a little more, especially maybe this is me taking a gander. They might actually use him a little more maybe in the first half to try to keep Walker fresh in the second half. So I think Holani's going to get at least 3 carries, maybe more than that. So I bet that George Holani over 2.5 carries. That takes me halfway through. Hopefully, do I have time to keep going?
Yeah, you got about 3 minutes plus whatever you got at Santa Anita maybe this week.
Okay, I'll thank you. I'll squeeze them all in. I did bet the players to throw a forward pass. I did go for the 2.5, over 2.5.
Yeah.
Meaning Darnold, May, and somebody else going to throw a pass. That has actually come in about 50% of the Super Bowls. And I think with 2 weeks, the 2 offensive coordinators are going to come up with some trick play to have a running back or an end or somebody throw the football. So I went over 2.5 passers. Largest lead, it's 14.5. Even though I really do like Seattle, I think the game is going to still be close most of the way. So I bet under 14.5 for the largest lead. So I did that, thinking the game will be close most of the way. And my final prop, I did bet the first half under 22.5, thinking that the game will start slowly and maybe move faster in the second half. Under 22.5 for the total in the first half. And as far as a couple of horses, let's go right to the big race of the day, the Southwest Stakes. It's race 11 in Oaklawn Park. I know Baffert's going to get a ton of run. I guess Butane is in and Litmus Test is out.
Yes.
But a horse that I really have been keeping an eye on is the 9 Strategic Risk. This horse is bred to run all day long. And 1 1/16 is actually too short for this horse. But this horse is really coming to fruition for Mark Cassie, 9 to 2 more 9 Castellano. Let's try the 9 Strategic Risk. And then I can't end the show without at least a pick at Santa Anita, Steve.
Sure.
Let's go to the last race, race 9 at Santa Anita. And we'll go with the number 5, 6 Magpies. The 9 furlongs this horse should be closing for Armando Aguilar.
9th race?
9th race, numbers 5, 6 Magpies, if I said that correctly.
Yeah, exactly. That's what confused me too. 6 Magpies, and there we go. All right, Rich. Thanks so much. You've had a fabulous NFL season, all 3 of you. Craig Dato and the Sports Injury Central team, and Dave Hill. Our listenership has done really, really well. And I've said for years, Rich made his bones as a turf writer, and and as a handicapper, but his sports opinion is outstanding. And we'll start to turn our attention to college basketball after this. Rich, enjoy. Good luck. And I'll talk next week.
Steve, I'm sorry the Eagles are not in the Super Bowl, but there's always next year.
Can't be in every Super Bowl, and they wouldn't be special if you won them year after year. That's and in fact, you bring that up, and I'll pass along a tidbit I just saw. Sonny Jurgensen passed away apparently this morning.
Oh no!
Yeah, and it's funny. I'm just not old enough that I don't really remember Jurgensen as an Eagle. I remember my quarterback at the time was who they got from the Redskins, which was Norm Snead. So Jurgensen goes off to Washington and has the lion's share of his good career, and we ended up with Norm Snead, who was my first Eagle. Him and King Hill were my first as a kid. Were my first two favorites.
Last comment, and I'll dug out. I always thought the two purest passers I ever saw in the National Football League were Sonny Jurgensen and Joe Namath for throwing the football.
Two good selections. Rich Ang for Pro Pick, everybody. RaceDayLasVegas.com and catch him with Ralph Sirocco and use his Southern California opinion. Rich, good luck this weekend. Richie Yang, everybody. And Nick has been with his mother, who had some surgery today, but I do have his action. He's on the Seahawks, and he laid 4.5. He says take any Kenneth Walker over rushing total. All right? And his best bet of the weekend, Simply Joking in the new Wayne Lucas tomorrow at Santa Anita. Well, we certainly gave you enough opinions. I'm going to finish my write-up for today, and I'll get that to the website in the next hour or so, and it should be a fun afternoon. Stay safe this weekend with these dangerous temperatures. Plenty more action tomorrow. Santa Anita and Tampa probably for me, I guess. We'll see. I haven't decided about that. Let me get today's out. Thanks to Brad Free, Jeff Taylor, Dave Grenning, Dave Hill, Scully, Hammer, Barry, Nick for calling in. Dato and Ang. Talk to you Monday.
On Sirius XM Radio. Who you betting on? How about an app created specifically for horse racing? Naira Bets. We specialize in thundering hooves, fist pumping, and boosting your bankroll with robust weekly promotion, and offer betting tips from actual horse racing experts. Bet all day and night, nationwide. Get the action of world horse racing with Naira Bets. For deposit match with promo Steve200. Visit nairabets.com for details.
Horses power Virginia's economy, creating over 38,000 good, fulfilling jobs every year. Think about the farmers, the farriers, the feeders, the athletes, trainers, drivers, and jockeys, caretakers and landscapers, investors and interns, veterinarians, restaurant owners, restaurant workers, tour guides, trail guides, equine therapists, and so many more. Now that's horsepower. Virginia's economy wins with horses.
The Pennsylvania breeding program is the best program in the country. The stallion awards, the owner bonuses, also the restricted races and the stakes races for Pennsylvania breeders. Last year, 321 Pennsylvania breeders awards, 22 Pennsylvania breeders earned over $100,000. We have the best country. Take advantage of the fantastic program that we have. Learn more at pabred.com.
Nothing compares to a horse. They inspire greatness, command respect. Because Virginia's horse industry isn't just racing and farming. It's built on the skills, labors, and passions of dedicated people working in every industry throughout our state. Horses fuel the economy, create jobs, families, and even make dreams come true. Virginia's economy wins with horses. Find out more at virginiahorseracing.com.